These motherfuckers.
What's up? Wait, let me change my... Heavy muted on stream. Can you hear me? Do people hear me, obviously? Let me mute mine so they can't hear me.
Let's go, Smokes. Let's go, Smokes.
with us, Chad. We're fixing. We're doing leftist technical things. We're solving leftist technical issues, Chad. Bear with us. No, we're actually all having issues at the moment.
Okay, here, microphone.
All right. Yeah. Oh.
I'll try again.
All we can do is try and try.
Chat,
there we go.
That's what I'm saying.
Testing. Can you hear us, chat?
I mean,
no, we don't.
They can all hear you guys on my side.
Holy shit! Holy shit! I hear things.
Yay,
Bry.
Holy shit! Oh my god! Fuck. Dude, I was panicking. I was fucking.
Let me pop you out here.
I got it.
Sorry, I had to yell at my chat for a second.
Naturally.
It's fine. They deserve to be yelled at.
There
a
we
little
go.
bit, yeah. Only person I cannot see is JFK.
I'm trying. I'm turning off my camera in OBS.
Don't you have virtual? You didn't set up virtual cam before?
No, of course.
It's so easy, and I didn't do it for years and years, and then I looked it up, and it was like two
that
buttons.
makes me feel better.
Yeah,
I'm just saying. I did that too.
Do you need help, JFK?
Yeah, it doesn't look like I have my camera. I also will not have a camera in the chat, guys. I'm sorry. I have it live, and so I have to prioritize. I guess I can't. I didn't know that. Boo.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. This is my first time doing this.
Virtual camera is really
solid.
easy to set up. We'll have to show you sometime. It's actually just a button in your OBS, basically.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
If you guys look at your control panel on your OBS, you'll see start stream or like stop stream, start recording, and stop or start virtual camera. If you click that, it will start a virtual camera. It will flip whatever your current camera is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then you have to make sure to select OBS virtual camera.
Yeah, if you go to the little options too, you can select your source and just your webcam, and then it'll just come up with your webcam here in Discord.
Oh, there we go.
There, see,
Okay,
JFK's whole stream is being
My whole
shown.
thing.
Yeah, you could switch your if you go in the settings of your virtual camera, you can switch it to just your camera. Also, there, Lisa's there now.
Hey.
Hey, there you go.
We got it.
There,
Okay.
we got progress happening.
Not me though. Fucking.
Oh, I see Bry's working. I see Bry's working. You got to make sure to also select your camera source in Discord.
Yeah,
Got
As
it.
OBS.
yeah. You got to change your Discord. Yeah, there, JFK did the
There
thing.
you
So
go.
Here we go. Here we
if
go.
you go into the
Yeah, you
settings
guys wanna
next to
see them,
virtual
right?
cam,
I
there you
can't have it
go.
like this.
Beautiful.
No. Okay.
There,
No,
Look
chat,
at
your
us
chat doesn't
now.
want to see us. That's fair.
we're pro
Yeah, no,
streaming.
I think they do. I think we want to make sure we've
Does
got
Lainey, like, eat
communication.
a pizza
Okay.
or something?
Yeah, from scratch.
Yay! Everything's set up.
Wow,
No.
look at us go. We're pro.
Hello.
We're all professionals here.
Yeah, we know what we're doing.
Do we?
Long live the Papers Revolution!
Oh wow, Mango Jones hitting us with a great content warning.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
What's up, Lainey?
My
Hello,
pin
Complaini.
is Chuck saying I'm
Howdy.
NPreg. So very different thing going on over here.
Hello,
Awesome.
True.
We also have a combined
What is-
chat happening here. Look at us.
We do.
I think that Kairos
All the
isn't going to be
chats.
with
Hi,
us
everyone.
until much later.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. A couple
I was streaming
hours.
this morning.
I saw that as well.
Okay, so my camera's just not going to work. That's
Really?
beautiful.
I think you
have you
probably have to
done
do
the
the
virtual
same thing
cam
that
thing
I did.
before?
What'd you do?
There's an order of operations.
Yeah.
You have to
Okay.
turn off your camera as you're using it. So go to like a starting soon screen, okay? And then you're
Okay.
gonna turn on the virtual cam and select which one you want it for, right? And then you can go turn on the virtual cam here, and then you can go live on your regular stream cam. This is so hard to explain. Can someone do it better?
Oh, God.
No,
Sit
that
here
was
and eat my
very
Thai food.
succinct. That was
Okay,
very
go to-
succinct. I have chips.
Right.
now.
Go to controls and then below the start streaming,
Oh, my
start
chat can't
recording.
hear people. Okay, hold on. Go to what?
Everybody is learning
controls?
today.
Yeah. It's a learning.
just me.
It's a learning
Is learning.
experience.
Everyone is learning. For
So
fuck's sake.
under controls, it says start streaming or stop streaming, start recording, and then start virtual camera. Do you see that?
Yes. And I pressed
So-
start virtual camera and
Go to the settings. So there's a little pinwheel next to it as well.
well, pinwheel. Okay, I see the pinwheel.
Yeah.
Then for output type, select source, and then for output selection, scroll to whatever your camera
Webcam
is.
is.
Okay.
And then you can just show your webcam instead of your whole stream.
Okay.
On a chip, is that what it is?
And then you'll have to go into your Discord and also make sure that you have for your source and Discord set up the OBS virtual cam.
That is what I have now. Now we're loading.
Oh, we might be getting there.
I think we're
Maybe.
getting there.
You might hear the dog eating a couple chips.
You-
Just the
Was
loudest.
Okay, so I'm just gonna be a cute little otter, I guess.
How does it feel to have a
Yeah,
big
this is what
background?
I
I feel fancy. I get a new camera lens on Sunday.
I made my mustache look all nice for y'all, and now I'm just over here.
Yeah,
So it should
unfortunately, you
look
guys.
well, imagine Bry's mustache is real nice, Chad, okay?
Hi,
Please.
Mr. J Logic.
It's very nice. So I think that what would be best if maybe I should not be on my starting soon screen.
That'd be helpful.
Maybe that would be helpful. That'd be very helpful. All right. Anyway, let's do some introductions. I think that'd be a good place to start.
Hi, Spade. Oh, sorry, guys. I'm talking to chat.
I
1
am-
second. Before we get started, guys,
no,
with the stream
but-
together, is there something I'm supposed to click to be in the same chat as you guys?
Oh yeah. There should be
Uh,
an did someone send an
if you got into the stream together, I pressed the button that said that said merge chats. So
You should have a in your notifications for Discord. There should be, I think, a thing that says,
Oh, Discord. Okay. Okay.
or no, for
If I-
Twitch. Sorry, in your
Oh,
Twitch
in Twitch, but
notifications.
a regular Twitch notification, like
Yeah,
you
like
know,
as
like
if
the
someone
regular-
whispered you or
Oh,
not
something
the streamer
almost.
side, but the other side.
Okay.
I
Okay.
think.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
Well,
other
I will see if
side.
I can figure it out. If not, it is what it is. That's
Yeah,
okay. Okay.
yeah.
We can move on.
You,
Sorry.
you will figure it out. It's not a
Yeah,
problem.
no big deal. We're it's casual, you know. We got a few hours before Karos even joins anyway, so the longer we take to just fuck around before we
Shoot
actually
the
get talking
shit,
isn't
yeah.
that bad of a thing. Famously, 15 minutes or whatever it is into stream, you know, isn't very long for a stream or start usually.
I've got a thing I can do.
This isn't bad for all of us having issues. TBH.
I've had way
I-
worse issues.
Will
Ooh,
be,
issues. I don't know what you're
being-
talking about.
I hope
It's
that's
a
not
bit, yeah, I was gonna say it
Here we
feels
go.
pretty
Here we go.
smooth to
Dinner.
me.
For my chat, you'll see me.
Have
can
you
see
ever
me
watched
now.
a Perenni stream, like, or a Perenni talk? That man fights with microphones.
Okay, I'm gonna adjust some volumes here because I'm noticing there's some volume discrepancy on my side of things. Jesus, he fucking ran full into the wall. All right,
Oh, thank you for the gifty Chuck.
Yeah, R.I.P. Perenni, indeed.
All right, we should be
Anyway,
good now.
so are we all good now?
I'm good. Is everyone else good?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, we're good.
I'm chilling. Hell yeah.
We're doing great. So I'm Bry. I am usually a gaming streamer, but I also do disability rights talk about disability justice. And I wanted to get this panel together to talk with a few other people in the community, and talk about how we can make our spaces better, how to make them more inclusive, especially because it feels like, you know, with the specific community that we are in, the disabled community, a lot of us tend to also be homebound, tend to also have certain restrictions in our life. And so creating a space in which we can exist and, you know, be comfortable and find community with each other, I think is very important, especially in this online space, because it's it should be a very accessible space to us. Get some other introductions here.
Yeah, before we do introductions here, actually, one of my mods has a request of me here.
Sure.
They want me to ask the streamers in here. So every Friday on our stream, we do a special like event using a wrestling game called Leftist Infighting, where my comrade here, they make characters out of all the various streamers and leftists, and like there's a Karl Marx wrestler, I'm in there, Dave Legend's in there, ComplainieLainie's in there, Juche Julia's in there, and every Friday we have a wrestling match, and like myself and NTC are the commentators. So the question NTC wants me to
It's very
ask
fun.
is if any of you comrades here want a character made in the wrestling game and to be part of Leftist Infighting, and then of course the fights get uploaded to YouTube. It's just for fun, of course. 27 is a part of it. So any of you who want to be a part, let NTC say
Absolutely.
yes to NTC.
I wanna
I
fight
would love
Raptor.
to.
I'm already a part of it. I can't say anything.
It's a
Aw.
healthy way to get your aggression out.
In the wrestling ring, yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
He'll make a cute character for you in the wrestling game. So anyone who wants, just say yes.
Totally.
Sorry for the interruption.
We're fine. That was a very cool interruption anyway. Do you want to introduce yourself then, Larry, since you did?
Sure. I'm Larry. I'm a streamer from Nova Scotia, Canada, Mi'kmaq, and also disabled, autistic, ADHD. Also injured myself at work and have been, not really able to work a regular job. So streaming has definitely been a help with that. On permanent disability myself, so I started streaming a few years ago talking about communism and socialism and, kind of being autistic. One of my special interests was always video games, but also like science and things like that and social sciences. And then I realized there was, I figured out about Marxism and that there was like a social science that was like a science. And yeah, I've been studying kind of that for many years and decided I wanted to rant about it to other people, but being where I live, there's less than 1 million people in my whole province, so going to events and things like this is few and far between, and it's long distance to try and travel to do that anyway. So this gives me an avenue that I can study with other folk online and, discuss like what I've learned. And then when I do get the rare occasion to go out and organize, I can put some of that theory into practice.
Who wants to go
Awesome.
next?
I'll go next, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm Lainey. She, they pronouns. I do news, politics, art, and art history. This is my reflex. Hi, you just rated me. I am disabled in a variety of ways. I have fibromyalgia. I have celiac disease. I have anemia, autism, and ADHD. Generalized anxiety disorder and depression. That's just the short list, honestly. That just is to say that I'm in either emotional or physical pain at any given time. Just know that about me. Hi, I'm Lainey. I'm always in pain. And I'm not really shy about talking about that on stream. I talk about it at length at the beginning of every stream, and my chat knows that about me. Like, I'm gonna like tell you about like what's going on with my body and like my mind and like where I'm at, and like that is like I think like a good way to like kind of set the tone for them that it's now safe for them to say like, man, I had a bad day too. Like shit sucks. So I think that's like how I come into this space as like a sort of I didn't plan to be, but I am a disability advocate. I think that's why I was invited. Right? I don't know. Anyway, I'm glad to be here
And
with
a
you
friend.
all. Yes, a comrade.
Comrade.
I'll go next. Hi, I'm Lisa. I am blind. Well, I'm legally blind. I have a little bit of vision in my right eye. Actually, my left eye is there. It exists. I just wear the eye patch because it barely works anyway. But then also I have a slightly lazy eye, and I'm formerly, so here's a little bit of extra story. I went blind 7 years ago. I was fully sighted before that. I was actually a professional cosplayer and model before that. So if anything, I think like, so anyway, I lost my vision due to a blood clot in my head that actually damaged my optic nerves, left me blind. And now I've had to live with that and kind of go through the experience of being a fully sighted, very privileged person in what was, in society, to then being treated like absolute shit as a blind person and kind of realizing the difference in that kind of lifestyle and what that means. I also went from being incredibly independent, like I was actually backpacking around Europe when I lost my vision, to now being very homebound because of the lack of, living in America. There's driving. I can't drive, and it's a very driving heavy country. And yeah, not only that, but I also have an autoimmune disorder that actually atrophies my muscles. I'm currently on medications where I actually am, it's like my body is physically as if I'm not having a disability, but it does leave me very, very fatigued. So even like between, I streamed this morning and then I'm streaming now. I actually took a long nap in between because I get fatigued very easily. So that's my disability and who I am and kind of why I'm here. I started Twitch streaming because actually I had started to take my CPAC certification, which is for accessibility testing. And during that time, I was like, well, I'm kind of going back to school because I had to do like a program for that. And I was like, how about I pick up streaming just to see if I like it? And it turns out I fucking love it. So I'm here.
Raptor
JFK, you wanna
or
go?
JFK?
Raptor looks
Yeah,
like
JFK, you go. No, I'm chilling. I'm here.
I can go. How's it going? I'm JFK. My day job is I'm a physics professor, but on Twitch I talk about leftist politics. I talk about ghosts. I talk about art. Talk about geopolitics. Anyway, yeah, I think that my journey kind of started. I spent most of my life as a liberal Zionist, and when Shireen Abu Akleh was killed, it sort of sent me down the path that I'm like on right now, and I am a pretty I try to position myself as a Jewish anti-Zionist that can talk like speak to that effect. I have ADHD, OCD, depression, anxiety, but I think I was asked to be here because of the advocacy that I've done in recent times, and I think that this is a long overdue discussion. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Always a pleasure. For those who don't
And
know,
Raptor.
yeah, I'm RaptrBlue. You are you. My name is also out there. You can call me Mitch if you need to. I am a Black Panther. I help organize and work with the Seattle branch of the Black Panthers up here in Washington. In addition to, I work with folks with disabilities who need additional assistance. As a community inclusion coordinator. So that involves a lot of things, such as helping them advocate for themselves, finding activities they can do, helping them build community around themselves is my day job. And on the side, I stream and occasionally voice act. Me personally, I do have a series of disabilities. These disabilities include AUDHD or autistic attention deficit something disorder. Yeah, that's the word. I also have major depression or chronic depression disorder, in addition to more physical ones that are a little embarrassing, like IBS. So there are times where I do just vanish for 30 minutes off my own stream because my body has decided that it cannot digest anything. We cover everything on my side from history to Black history or African history as in the nation of Africa through a Pan-African lens. We address racism, we do rot, we do slop. We kind of just build people up as well around here, and we like to make fun of things because somebody has to do it, and why not point out how everything is racist?
It's true though. Everything is racist.
Everything is. I was just talking to another streamer earlier today about how our car-centric society is just the result of historical racism.
Yep.
Yep.
That was a very enlightening, by the way, very enlightening chat. I was there in chat. I was like, I had to unpack things immediately.
Oh, I have a lot of hot takes. If you want leftist hot takes,
that go to RaptrBlue.
Well, and then you get the
So-
amazing voice on top of it. Your voice is awesome.
thank you very much. I try to be.
It is like honey. It is a voice like honey. I do not exaggerate. So yeah, we're all going to be speaking from these experience and these life, these experience of life that we have. And so the reason I wanted to get to this together is because I see. Well, let me just talk from my perspective of my of like the issues that I see. So as part of my disability, I have had brain cancer twice in my life. And because of that, I have had a traumatic brain, I basically have traumatic brain injury, TBI. big thing that happens a lot online is I think that people have this idea that because they're punching up, anything they say in order to punch up is fair game. And this includes calling people who are above them brain damaged, disparaging them on their intelligence and their relationship to sanity, and all of these kinds of things, while are directed at someone who is more powerful, are pointing out things about them that are common to a lot of people who are already seen as less in society. So like for very prominent examples, you can say John Fetterman's stroke, and that being reason as to why he is right wing or is less progressive than he was when he ran for office, or Donald Trump as having dementia and Alzheimer's, as to like the actions that he's doing, which, by the way, have not diverted at all from the kinds of actions that he would have done 3 years ago. Like or even 20 years ago. Like the man has always been self-obsessed, has always been self-absorbed. Nothing about his physical health or his mental health has affected his actions in my like diagnosis of things. Things also like using IQ. I want to point out that like I'm not trying to police language when I say this kinds of stuff, but I am trying to just like explain my experience with these things, and why they can be harmful to people who have this stuff going on. And I think that also when people point out this kinds of stuff, they are treated as being, being too woke in the room, or like bringing something up that is like too beyond the pale. And I think that this is wrong because like these should be places that are welcoming and inviting to people who are marginalized in society. We're already kind of at a point where we can't find community that well, where it's kind of hard for us to find people who like find people, and this kind and talking about ourselves and talking about our experiences is this thing that just makes people uncomfortable, and so we're made to be quiet about it. We're made to not talk about it, and it's a very alienating experience. You can't see me. I'm also a cishet white male. These are just my experiences, and I know that mine are very limiting by these factors. So you'll see that like everyone I brought here is very diverse. We have people who are part of the queer community, part of are Black and brown, are not from a Christian background. And so I wanted to, bring that to y'all to see what you would have to add to that, and your experiences yourselves. So
Yeah, and I think
Everyone-
that's the thing is that I'm obviously because I'm like, I don't know, is anybody else here like formerly able-bodied turned disabled like me? Or have you like, I know that's like probably, bear with me.
I was more able-bodied the second round of cancer when I was 16. After that, I went through chemotherapy, so I have chemo brain, which is basically just means I have worse ADHD than I did before. Also, I'm sorry if I interrupted you.
No. That's exactly. I asked a question and then
I
realized.
also walk with a limp now. I have a very bad limp. I can't run. Uh,
I was just curious because
I am visibly disabled now. I was not visibly disabled prior to that point.
got it. Because I was thinking, like, I have come to realize that I really need to check my ableism. Like, I went from being fully able-bodied to then being disabled and realizing just like how not just internalized, but like how just ableist our society is in how we conduct ourselves, and it goes completely unchecked, right? And I think that's something that I've had to come to terms with is even now, like, of course, in my brain, even now, I'm trying to fight this, like, yeah, but like Trump does have dementia. So, like, we should just, we should just state the facts. But the truth is that it's unproductive. It's unproductive to bring it up. Like, even if you want to look at it from like a point of view where you're like, okay, well, it's unproductive to bring it up. It's not actually contributing anything new to the conversation. And it's just not actually accomplishing anything. Why not actually talk about the things that he's saying and doing that actually are affecting what he's doing, right? So, like I said, I think that that's something that I can come from that perspective, knowing that, yeah, ableism, it's a thing for sure.
I would say that I kind of do. I've been very open about this. Is that when I was younger, I was an athlete. I was in football. I was desperate to get a scholarship into really any college, and I developed CTE, or chronic traumatic what's the word? Regardless, there are parts of my brain that are now just compact, hard nerves, due to repeated concussions. So it is one of those things where I am well aware that my depression, my IUDHD, and my dyslexia were less, I guess, were not as prominent growing up until I was an actual, like a full grown adult, until I was like 27, 28. Where I'm aware that my mind just isn't working as well as it used to be, if that makes sense to people.
Yeah, and for me, like, I mean, like, perhaps other people with ADHD know, like, it kind of, you don't really, it kind of affects you worse as you get older, in a sense. Like, when you're younger, I don't know, there's like different ways to channel it. So there's that for me. So kind of, yeah, it felt like I was more able-bodied and I just able-minded, I guess, or whatever you want to call it, in the past. And then also having a workplace accident certainly put a lot of things into perspective there, because I was in construction. I did residential homes, did spray foam insulation. So, a lot of like going up skyscrapers and pulling up houses and a lot of that kind of thing. And now waking up sometimes from sleeping wrong and not able to move my head for like 3 or 4 days, which is, lovely. Yeah, and
I can relate to that.
yeah, and it makes me like relate more to like my dad, who has like not quite much like me. Like, the disability isn't as visible, but you realize like what he's going through more from like the things that he is going through as well. So yeah, and then also with him, there's also type 1 diabetes, which is like very prominent in my family. So I'm constantly worrying about that and on the cusp of it myself, which is of course the kind where your pancreas just doesn't make enough insulin, and you have to inject yourself. So yeah, definitely trying to be more aware of like, of that kind of thing, because yeah, like someone in chat here said, like, most people don't even start thinking about ableism until they experience it for themselves, right? And a lot of
That's
people,
kind of what I was trying to say. It's like I didn't even think about these things, bringing up the fact that, like, bringing up Trump's dementia as being a factor and the John Fetterman, like having a stroke. Like, I think up until recently, I would not have realized that that was even ableist. And I think it's good to point it out.
Yeah,
Like you said,
Yeah.
like
just like
like for me in particular,
um,
my thing is the fact that Kash Patel and the fact that people make fun of his eye.
mm,
And kind of like equate the fact that he has a lazy eye makes it so he looks like they talk about how he looks dumb and he looks stupid and like all this other stuff, right?
yeah,
Like lazy eyes are kind of just like associated with that, and it makes you really self-conscious, you know? So yeah.
yeah,
But
absolutely. And I mean, how many comrades are there out there that have, that are struggling with the same kind of things that Trump might be struggling with, and are, on the fucking left or on our side? Like, the last thing you want to do is like be sounding like you're implying like, this is the reason for something. I know there's like this really harmful like Marxist book I actually talked about in the chat earlier while we were putting this all together, which is by this LaSalle or whoever it is here in Deleuze or whoever. We're trying to bring it up. Gilles Deleuze
Oh,
and Felix
Deleuze.
Guattari. That's like capitalism and schizophrenia, and it tries to argue like a good metaphor for analyzing capitalism and the problems of it is that it's a schizophrenic system. And it's just like just so harmful. It's like
Oof.
these were like the description already exists. Like, we can use the language that exists. It's class relations and class power and racism and sexism and these other things that then keep class power and colonialism safe, right?
yeah.
And even
Like,
Trump, like, we
for
have to
me
remember it's
Sorry.
like what he did 20 years ago is a result of him being a symptom of this system of class power.
I was just gonna say I was always disabled, but I didn't know, so it was a long process of like not only like seeking diagnosis for what I like didn't really realize was wrong. Like, you don't know what's wrong until you realize that other people don't struggle with the things you struggle with, right?
Mm.
So I also learned a lot of like internalized ableism and had to unlearn it. And especially after like recently in the past like 5 or 6 years, my fibro has gotten way worse, which has worsened my migraines, which makes everything worse. Just it's really debilitating. And so I think I didn't have a lot of empathy for like a lot of things that like I should have had, you know. Like we're taught to like call people lazy or like, you know, like I don't hate Trump because he may or may not wear a diaper. I hate him because he's a fucking fascist. I hate the
Right.
fascism that so yeah, I try to redirect the conversation as much as possible when people focus on those things like Kash Patel or you know, even if it's like superficial things like oh, Loomer looks like whatever you want to say, fucking fill in the blank. Like I don't care. It's not relevant. And like, I don't care if anyone gets plastic surgery that looks bad to me. It's not about me. It's about them. And that's not something to hate someone for. Again, the fascism is.
Yeah, it's that that tactical bigotry that I think is a real issue that I'm excited to talk to you guys about because I see it in the space a lot, especially when it comes to as Lainey said, women that come up in the news. Same thing. When I see Marjorie Taylor Greene, the first thing I think is Nazi, but there's always someone shouting that she's ugly or something along this. It doesn't. That is not
Yeah.
of substance, and slights like that happened to the you know, our disabled comrades constantly. From what I would say, you know, check me if you think I'm wrong on this, but people using those you know, different disabilities as a pejorative is them trying to say the R word with more steps. And
No, it really is. It's
Yeah.
it's just a watered down R word is what I feel like, especially when you're talking about intelligence based stuff. It feels like you want to say the R word, but you're deciding on something that means the exact same thing.
Well, with the
It's
return
like
of all, oh, sorry, go ahead, Brian.
correct. No, I'm sorry. I actually wanted to ask you on this one, Raptor, if this is an okay analogy, but it feels like saying inner city thug instead of saying the N word in my.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It is absolutely like a similar thing. The connotation is different, but it's absolutely. It's like the return of what is it? What's the phrase now? Dark woke or whatever. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
the
Ugh,
Dirtbag left
hate
type
it.
stuff.
Yeah.
yeah. started by bearded white men. No offense to the bearded white men in here,
Yeah.
but like it is return of wanting to be able to sling
like, so
slurs at people.
Rhetorically,
Without-
it's so adjacent to like ACP to me. Sorry, but I just had to say.
No, you're right. You're right, though. That's the thing. A lot of it is the wanting and willingness to hurl these slurs around and to attempt to reclaim these slurs without the idea of those, or without the consent or the informed hurt that is going to occur in a rainbow coalition. It's one thing why people during like the disability sit-in San Francisco, I think it was, back in the early 70s, they weren't hurling slurs because the people who were running the sit-in were those who with folks with additional needs. They pretty much, the folks showed up, or I guess other folks, the BPP, for example, other members of the Rainbow Coalition showed up and went, "How can we best support you?" And the people who were organizing sit-ins were very much, "Hey, don't say slurs, but help bring us supplies, help support us, make sure we can disrupt the businesses as much as we can." You know, that is how you build, that is how you address these issues instead of, or ableism in these society, or organizations, instead of just, well, I'm going to reclaim the slur because I want to say it.
Well, then it's the people who are reclaiming it or people who don't. I mean, no one should be saying the R word, but it's especially people who shouldn't be saying it that are trying to say it too.
Yeah.
It's gross.
It's people who aren't members of the community who
Right.
think that's yeah.
And I mean, the problem with that too is like it's like you're assuming to be a spokesperson for everybody when like everybody has individuality, and like it's like, yeah, if we're struggling in a broad coalition where you're with people from all different like leftist sections, then you know there's going to be people who say some like racist shit, people who say some anti-indigenous shit, people who say some ableist shit, and like you got to try and educate them and like, you know, just try and engage in an ideological struggle with them. And in a way, you got to try and make that like as positive as experience as possible, so that like they take something away from that, maybe, because like Chad said earlier, unless they experience disability or racism or whatever for themselves, then it's really hard for them to sympathize, and for them to, maybe they do think they sympathize, but it's hard for them to really like understand it on a material level and actually like understand why, you know, that's harmful, and or why that thing is making them uncomfortable. And maybe someone is saying like it's not something to be like, you know, to like Bry said earlier, not something to police about the way somebody is saying something. It's just like, hey, I'm here, maybe just like this is making me uncomfortable or something, you know.
It's like it's so much important to like look, you don't have to stop saying this entire list of words that I have linked in my chat. I do urge you to look at them. I think you should internalize them and try to think about it. But it's much more about like a larger framework of, why do I jump to that when I'm making an analysis on news or geopolitics or history? Why is that my like first impulse is to do an ableism or do a racism or like be bigoted? Like, how can I make my point in a better way? You know, like be more dialectical in your thinking.
So
Can
then
I jump? Oh, go ahead. I've been talking a lot. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say to the point that Larry and Lainey are talking about. Then I want to pose the question of, what do you guys think about the response being like, "Oh, you're woke of the day. You are king,
Ooh.
queen, emperor woke," as a way
It's
to shut
I hate
down
it.
conversation.
It's a thought defeating cliche, right? Or whatever the fucking term is. Like it just is meant to
Terminating, yeah.
Well,
shut
can
down
you
the
imagine
whole
Claudia
conversation.
Jones? Imagine Claudia Jones calling out racism in her party and them going, "Oh, wait, why are you being so woke, Claudia Jones?" You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's that, literally.
Can I?
Yeah,
can
for
I,
any other
Sorry, go ahead.
liberation, right? Go. No, finish.
Oh no,
You.
I just know a lot of like the woke of the day shit. When this whole thing started with the largest leftist streamer on Twitch, let's be honest, with Hassan, I know that I lost my goddamn mind. It in emotions. I got very emotional about it because the people he was saying it to were people that were similar in this, that were folks with disabilities or additional needs, and that were people of color who were voicing like, hey, you shouldn't be saying you're only trying to appeal to normal people, for example. Like very normative, or I guess able-bodied language, very casual ableism. And I that's why I have a new command here. Like we should move on from normalized ableism. Things like dumb, lame, idiot, things like that. We should move on from that. And I encourage my chat to be more creative when it comes to it.
Yeah, like
Because-
what would you say instead? Just like as a like what would be a good word to use instead of those?
Ooh, it depends on the context.
Right.
Okay, like give me one. Give me an example.
I use
Okay.
wild and ridiculous a lot.
would
Those are
just
good
say
ones. Those are good
that-
ones.
I use silly
would
a lot
say
lately.
that-
I say people are
I like
silly.
silly.
Silly's a good one.
I would also
Unhinged.
say if we're going to talk about like, if we're going to say that like, it's anti-materialist to bring up these like disabilities to talk about things, we should also just like point out that like the reason why John Fetterman is right wing is because he's being paid. Like
True.
Yeah.
like
Oh yeah,
like
did you
the
guys see the
reason
new
why-
stuff that came
the
out
reason
today?
why the reason
has,
why
like,
all
a
these people are
handler.
pieces of shit is because they're bourgeois politicians who benefit from being like this. Like
Yeah, I mean, what many like
Yeah.
either they're a part of the bourgeoisie themselves, that like a lot of them are like own various corporations or all kinds of fucking shares in all kinds of different corporations, or they're toadies of power. Like these two trends of people and multiple others that like exist branching off of them, like they've existed for so long in history that people like Karl Marx and Fanon and like and Michael Coulthard and all these other people have literally analyzed this and have described these forces. And even like the one thing that I'm doing right now is we've been reading Internationalism in Practice, which is a collection of Claudia Jones's work, and then we've also been reading the Stalin's collected work from like 1900 to 1912. And the interesting thing about reading this work from like over 100 years ago now is like we're facing the same problems and like dealing with similar types of like racism and like combating these reactionary aspects in their own party, and yeah, it's just it's interesting to look back and see like there is these explanations for what's going on, and it has to do with, of course, the class power behind it, right? And the colonial forces behind it. It's like Trump is where he is because he's literally a symptom of this system, and if it wasn't Trump, it would be some other shitbag like real estate magnate like personality jackass in his place instead, with like a Steve Bannon or some other who the hell knows. So and then on top of that, you have to remember that they are political representatives for a class that they represent, so there's a whole bunch that are less politically active that are also behind them as well, right? That are supporting Trump's policies, that are helping to create the decisions that he's making, that are being passed down to his generals and his advisors, that he then, kind of decides from or gives his little input towards. And like that's what and this is done through lobbying and through like also just direct influence, like corporate owners saying you can't print this in my media or whatever else, right? There's so many different mechanisms at work that allow them to exercise those powers and then make it look like Trump does it and it's all on Trump or it's all on this representative because then they can be the scapegoat of capitalism. And that's what they're meant to be, right? Is the scapegoat of capitalism. So you blame it on them instead of capitalism.
But yeah, to bring it back to what Lainey was saying earlier, like it's like I know me and Lainey and Larry have like a lot more strict moderation in our chats, but like that's not our goal at the I mean I don't want to speak for either of you two, but I would say that for me that's not necessarily my goal. My goal is to make people reflect on why actually are these people pieces of shit? Like, does it have anything whatsoever to do with whether or not they have this or that disability? Or is it because they are actively harming people? And those two things aren't the same thing. Those two things are not linked whatsoever to each other. Like, you being a harmful piece of shit actually is not at all linked to mental illness or neurodivergence or any sort of disability whatsoever. I'm sorry, Lenny, you were saying something?
Yeah, I have a few notes on this point particularly. I've always hated the phrase hysterical, and you all may know the history of this phrase. It's from ancient fucking Greece, and they thought at that time that the uterus would wander. It would just wander, and you would have to prescribe things like marriage, or pregnancy, or vaginal massages, non-consensual by the doctor. So let's just not with that. Like, I think a lot of people jump with, particularly women, to, oh, they're crazy. Oh, they're just always mad. Oh, like, oh, be weird. Like fucking. I get that a lot. I get that a lot because I do yell. Because there's a lot to be mad about, and if you're not mad, you're not paying attention. Frankly. Okay. And also on the note of like the intersection of queer people, like, we're much more likely to have a disability. 36% of queer people have a disability compared to 26% of the straights. And it's even more with trans people in particular. More than half of trans people have a disability. This is very important and often ignored, especially given that there are so many trans people online, given that it's a genocide. It's a trans genocide outside. So they are here. they're here, and you should maybe consider what their experiences are, especially given that on account of the discrimination, LGBTQI people are gonna get the complications from that abuse, anxiety, depression, CPTSD, etc. And I think this is a really interesting point because, like, there's something about having like a body that society deems as aberrant or atypical that overlaps with having like a deviant sexuality, right? We are already marginalized on both accounts, so it makes sense that we would find each other, right? Anyway, I think that was most of my point.
No,
Well,
I really so glad that you made that point, Lainey. Thank you so much. Because yeah, this is a very intersectional issue. It is not like these are not islands that are separate from one another. Like the way that ableism is used is also ways in which women are oppressed, and also ways in which the queer communities are oppressed, also in ways that the Black community is oppressed and historically has been oppressed. I don't mean to speak for the Black community, by the way. Raptor, if this is something you would like to speak on, absolutely.
I'll wait until you're done.
No, I am done, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, this overarching issue, both the hysteria issue, which is rooted in not just misogyny but also misogynoir, is very much used because Black women were like the leading force behind a lot of civil rights coalition building and a lot of civil rights for like pushing. I mean, obviously one of the biggest
And
ones.
still are.
And still are, absolutely.
Yes.
The aunties do the work. Like Marisha, for example, like the lead, like the person who started the Stonewall riots, for example, like they were somebody who had additional needs. They were trans. They were Black. Like they were the epitome of what we should all be striving to do to watch out for each other. You know, like that is like the big thing. I almost forgot where I was going with this. In the Black community, however, there is also a large disparity in reaching out and understanding like additional needs. And that is a term that I have picked up in my years of working with folks who have additional needs or who have disabilities, using strength-based language and all that. It's still I still slip up, like I'm still learning. But the biggest thing in all of this was the understanding that we are all on a journey. Some people are further along in that journey than others. And we're all still learning, but we are all allies. And there's an old adage that I grew up with, which is don't fight in the kitchen. If you are all learning, you're all cooking together, you got to eat, you work together, you help lift each other up. If someone is saying something, you try to reach a mutual understanding. If you can't, that's fine. You just go your separate ways. You know, that was something that I grew up with. And that was part of the learning in with myself, because there are still things that are deeply ingrained in me from growing up, just all over the place, in terms of like dealing with both being cis, but I am bi. I'm actually demisexual, but it should be lumped. It not should be. It's lumped under bi. It has its own whole connotation with being with being a Black man that is disabled or has a disability. Like these are all things that are a more, I guess, unique view when it comes to the Black experience. But that is one thing that happens in coalition building, which is where we go, yeah, I'm like that too. And we build off that mutual ground.
Yes. On
Yeah,
that note,
and
I wanted. Sorry, just really quick, Raptor. Do you know the word for there is a historical diagnosis for slaves who resisted, like defiant slaves? There was a
not off the top of my head, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah, like not wanting to be a slave was considered like a disability or a mental disorder. Like defiant
and it
slave
kind of
disorder or
evolved
whatever.
into ODD, oppositional defiant disorder today.
Yes.
And a lot of Black men are diagnosed with that disproportionately.
They absolutely are. And
I wonder why.
It is a Drapetomania. Thank you guys.
I wonder. Thanks, Neuro. Oh, and Bisco Witch. Yes. Sorry to interrupt.
This is why
you're fine.
If I may, I think that this is exactly why, if we are in the proverbial kitchen, which we are, right? The people in this kitchen with us are disabled, queer, Black, women, or femme, or, that's the revolution will be gay and Black and femme and disabled. So this is like, if we are trying to create this space for our community, then it makes no sense why we would appeal to some centrist version of this when we know that the way to get like true change is by shoring up the base and finding solidarity with people who just have been left in the margins this entire time. I think like that's what makes my blood boil is trying to extend a hand to this, like, I don't know, like wayward, lost, I don't know, Trump centrist. Anyway.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, no,
I wanted to. I actually wanted to, because Lainey and Raptor were bringing their experiences, and I wanted to give the floor to Larry and Lisa, whichever order you want to go in to, bring in your own experiences, the Indigenous experience, your experience as a woman and a queer person, Lisa. And that tying into ableism, whichever wants to go first.
I can go first. What am I'm talking about the experience of being a queer woman and ableism as a streamer? Is that what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
One of my
Go ahead.
daughters was
Yeah.
saying goodbye at that moment, so I was a little distracted. So yeah,
You're fine.
I am asexual. I am also, yeah, I am femme. I am a woman. And I am blind. Like I said, just in general, uh I think it's like this uh, my ex- my experience is just interesting, especially given the fact of like I've always had to live with the fact that I look the way I look. I have a curvy body. I have traditional societal expectations of beauty, and yet I'm not sexually attracted to anybody, and so it's just always this misconception, and I kind of played it up when I was younger, where I was just like, you know what, if you got it, flaunt it. Let's just go with it. And I think that's the biggest thing that I see. Anyway, it's just actually interesting that we're having this conversation because it's a conversation I've been having with my chat lately. Because my whole channel is Lisa is Learning. Basically, I try to express all of my thoughts that I go through as I am kind of learning through this process, like learning about coalition building, and finding that balance between, coalition building and also being inclusive, and how to balance that. Because, like, on one hand, if you are too restrictive and too unappealing, I guess is the word I would use, it results in us not getting anything done. Because, I mean, you do have to appeal to a large body of people to get it to work out, right? Like, I don't really know how that works, but like that's something that's been kind of hard for me because back when I was a cosplayer, I could be a lot stricter on like if I didn't say this before, I was a professional cosplayer. Like that was kind of what I was known for. That's how I have like 2 million followers on my social media, is like because I was doing that. And I could be a lot stricter on who I associated with, who I condemned, like who I was a lot more about that because like it wasn't life or death. Like it was about, I was seriously dressing up as video game characters. It wasn't anything that made a difference to anything. Whereas now I have to think about, okay, but if I like condemn this person who has a large following and don't want to associate with them, then that means that's like one less group. It's really hard for me given the fact that like the left has so much. I mean, look at it. We were just talking about how marginalized people are the ones who usually are the influencers in the movement. But then when you look to Twitch, who's the leading Twitch streamers on here? Normally white passing, at the very least, white passing men who are pretty ignorant to the issues of marginalized people. Like, yeah, they do advocate for marginalized people to a certain extent, but the amount of ableism and racism, everything that goes on.
Get in there. Taxi's boss car is full of weed just like this, okay? Okay. Jacob, you're in control. Don't let them fuck up.
Okay, boys, this is it. Let's fucking move it.
By the way, but also like
I'll take your word for it.
also very physically attractive. I'm a cute little hugger.
Go
What do
on.
you mean?
Say more, Brian.
But yeah, like also like lookism plays into this kind of thing too. Like, well, okay. Jasmine Gold is not a physically attractive person, but as far as like,
you mean you're
on
not
the
into
left
roaches
here,
and dead rats?
I feel
Go
bad
on,
for the
Bryyourguy.
roaches.
it's not my thing. I'll say it's not my thing. But like on the leftist space, I would say that like the people that I can name who are like the most popular people are very like attractive people. But
Yeah.
it's an interesting thing that's still lookism is a very prominent and
I mean, you would say that probably in any content creator scene that plays a role in it, right?
Yeah,
It
yeah,
just is.
exactly.
Can I jump in here real quick? I don't mean to overtalk, but I will also say that lookism is especially rooted in like Eurocentric values.
Yeah.
Plays very heavily into it because I'm trying to think of her name. There was a black cosplayer, really, really wonderful at what she did, very leftist, but she got bullied relentlessly by people in the cosplay community because she was black. It's not just lookism; it is
Yes.
lookism rooted in Eurocentric value or
Yes.
Eurocentrism. Sorry.
That's
Go ahead.
why I try to word it like when I
Yeah,
said it was societal expectations of beauty, it's an acknowledgement of the fact that like that is society's definition, right? Like it's like one of those things that I think like that's kind of why I try it, but like it is true. I think I have to just objectively say, given the fact that I was professionally pretty for a majority of my life, like I just have to take like that's how I try to define it because I think that is what it is by like just factual because I think that yeah that was always um that is the thing as a content creator. Like I said, I actually brought it up to my chat the other day. Despite the fact that Black women, I feel like, are the leaders of the leftist community, is there any Black female streamers that are leading the Twitch streaming movement? Or even, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay, so we have to really acknowledge the fact that there is a problem here. The fact that this is not being acknowledged. The fact that marginalized people are the ones who lead the leftist movement, and yet they're not the face of it.
exactly. Also, I apologize if I cut you off in what you were saying.
Mm-mm. No, this is a conversation. I don't want to rant. That's not, I mean, if I want to yap, I can go on my own stream and do that for 7 hours like I do every night.
Yeah, and
So,
I was gonna say like for me, you ask about like coming from a Megama experience. I'll just say like kind of like what I was saying before. When you something else, whenever you read other communist writers or anyone struggling, they're working in like I say, party even within the Communist Party itself.
But I ain't shook because
They're working with people who, again, have all kinds of reactionary opinions, right? They might have all kinds of wrong opinions, but us like pointing out and engaging in an ideological struggle or pointing out where there might be a problem, it's not meant to like attack anybody. It's not meant to like even say like, oh, we don't want that person in our movement or anything like that. It's a way to encourage them to think about, how to be not, I don't want to even say like a better leftist, but how to be a leftist that is more like inclusive of other people as well and is like more intersectional in their analysis, because like even Marxism Leninism, the most militant Marxism Leninism is inherently intersectional, right? Like, and anybody who didn't like, that's a big problem with the ACP, like I say, because they deny the fact that Marxism Leninism is inherently decolonial. It's inherently anti-racist. It's inherently like that's baked into Marxism because it is like the movement against all oppression of man by man. That's the essence of Marxism, right? Everything else about Marxism is just like fluff trying to understand how to do that, how to get rid of all oppression of man by man. And so like that's why I say if we know somebody is trying, we know that opportunism is like not the result of somebody being evil, right? Opportunism is the result of somebody who most often they mean well and they want to do well and they even think they're doing well, but they have false consciousness in various respects, either aspects of racism or aspects of ableism or whatever it is that hasn't been unpacked. And so we kind of have to identify which people like are on our side ideologically in the broad way, and that we want to work with and try and reach. And and even like what Raptor was saying earlier about like a certain streamer, really big streamer, mentioning about using the word normal a lot, right? Like I know, like, one thing that particular streamer likes to do is say that, like,
We can just say it's Hassan, guys. It's
Oh, I
fine.
mean, there are other ones, but yeah.
yeah,
sorry,
no,
yeah.
I mean, I have
He's
no
gonna come
problem.
up so often.
I have no problem saying
New
it's
Yorker,
Hassan. I
who's
mean,
that? Hear
Wait.
this.
I have no
Who's
problem
Hassan?
saying it's
Hassan?
Hassan.
What?
It's just, and here's my thing. Like, it's not to attack Hassan or say like you shouldn't watch Hassan or anything like that. It's just like, here, maybe this is a shortcoming you can notice next time you're watching Hassan, and think about how that affects the movement as a
Guys,
whole.
and
And
so you guys
It's
know,
certainly
I'm
not just Hassan. There's
Well,
many
no,
others.
and just
yeah,
know
yeah,
that, like,
exactly.
I'm even
And that's why I
I'm
do
a
say
huge Hassan fan.
that's
So like.
that's why I am kind of saying it as like as an example, because it is something that you'll see in more than just Hassan, but lots of other streamers and lots of other content creators who will say you can't get any further left than me and still be normal. Like, I literally like hear them say that. And
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
right,
That's
and
why I
with
brought up
the
earlier.
implication of that with the fight, especially they're in right now with a Palestinian on Twitter, is ridiculous to me. You know, like, you can take a critique, you can take hearing something, and you don't have to freak out about it. And you don't, you can hear it, and you don't even have to apologize.
be
You just have to
critical,
hear it, even.
you know?
My goal at the end of the
Yeah,
day
that's
is
all.
not to. I think that everyone's goal at the end of the day is not like to make anyone like not like a certain person or like whatever, but just to notice that like there are ways to be a little bit more critical about these things. And this is a weather vane kind of person that we talk about.
Yeah,
that
I'm a farmer,
is
so like, oh, go
it's
ahead.
like incredibly common everywhere. Like
I think we
I
all
say on my
are.
stream all the time that like no one has not been ableist. Like everyone who has
Oh, yeah.
walked this fucking earth has been
For sure.
ableist at several points in their life.
Yes.
Who has probably been ableist like yesterday. Like this is such a prevalent thing in society that like at the end of the day, I'm just trying it like what I'm trying to do, and I'm sure like everyone here is trying to do, is just like create a place where those people can feel safe and can feel welcome. Like that doesn't, it's not going to be everywhere that they're going to feel welcome, but we do have to point out that like there are several places, there are large places in which
Mhm.
very unwelcome.
That's
do
why I
think,
brought up
like-
the woke of the day thing before, is because I much in the same way that we're allowed to hold our elected representatives to account, we're allowed to hold the people who we consume their content to account as well. Like there we
You
should
can hold us to account. We're streaming publicly for you all to hear and talk to for that reason. That's what we're here for. We want
should
chat
be
to
able to
engage with
account.
us and help us learn as well, right? But like as long as any of us have been studying anything, there's lots that we can learn from other people, because again, everybody's individual and we have all different experiences that we can take from.
Yeah.
So
And I
I'm a
love
former
that-
evangelical Christian homeschool girly. So that's the thing, is that's why where Lisa is learning is here, is because I'm constantly fucking up. And I actually have a chatter in my chat that always, like, when he's trying to correct me, he says, "I'm not calling you out, I'm calling you in." And I think that that's like a really good phrase to kind of like have in my head sometimes when I'm feeling defensive of the fact that I'm, kind of an idiot. And I'm sorry, I'm not being proper here. I shouldn't even say that about myself, but it's like one of those things that like I'm aware that I have a lot to learn. But calling you in is, I think, just such a good phrase to use, because it's like I'm trying to bring you into the group. I'm trying to like, bring you on the same page. And that's, I think, the kind of mentality that I think can be good about that.
And kind of on that same note, like the reason why we have these, being called in, being called out, being held to account, all that, is because we are all inherently empathetic people, right? We all care. Like that's the big thing, is we all fucking care in our own ways. And that's why I'm saying no. That's why I brought up earlier, no fighting, don't fight in the kitchen. We all care about the same things. We're just on different levels of the thing. Like, but one thing I also tell people is that you can't logic someone into, you can't appeal and you can't logic someone into a situation where they have not been logicked into. So like when we address ableism, we can go, yeah, that what I just said, super ableist, my bad. But somebody who has not had had the thought process and not the experience, which a lot of Republicans and a lot of conservatives don't, they, until it actually affects their life, they are unable to build that correlation, that understanding, and that empathy for it. You know, and it's just one of those things where we kind of just have to live with it. We see where they're at, and then if they turn out to be a piece of shit, we call them out for it, you know. It's that being held accountable. Yeah, it's like that being held accountable. If someone says something racist, now I try not to say the N-word on people's streams. It slips out, it's just in my vocabulary, but like I try not to do it because some people find it uncomfortable, so I understand that. My own stream I'll drop it, but you know, but like understanding why I say it compared to some rando who doesn't talk to black people, for example, is already a learning experience in and of itself.
Exactly.
So like I'm kind of
Yeah,
beyond like trying to ever like sway any larger streamer like Hassan or fucking
No.
even Mike from PA or anything to be in any way anti-ableist or even stop doing ableism. They're not even going to get to a neutral point. I don't believe in those men. What I do believe in is like a small coalition of us on down here where we know each other and can be held accountable by each other and our mods, where we have like in my mind, I have a dream. I have a dream that we have some sort of like ombuds person or people that are the neutral, like in between like the streamer or the harming party and the harmed party, where they can just go and express like, hey, this bothered me, this fucked me up, I didn't like this thing that the streamer said, and or the way that chat responded to it, and then it can be addressed in private between the people in a productive way, in the way that the harmed person wants, right? Like I think we can make something like that happen, and like we do have that with mods, and like Larry has a great system, or did in our SVG, of like an anonymous ticket system in Discord, where you could just submit a ticket with a mod, and then it would be a conversation between the mod and no one else could see it, right? And then you could escalate, kind of like that.
Yeah, we actually have that same things now in
actually brings
in the
up
other
a
Discord
thing
that we
I
use
wanted
now as
to-
well, where like if somebody because
Yeah.
the thing is with chatters coming in, like yeah, I agree with you. They're like a lot of big streamers, like, and again, it's not because they're whatever, it's because opportunism is very strong, especially when you have lots of numbers and your livelihood potentially depends on it as far as you're concerned. It's a very strong and compelling thing. Which is why I say, like, again, part of the reason why I say that is so that comrades who are like able-bodied, or who maybe hearing those words doesn't bother them when they're in those spaces, they can, or people who are more empathetic to that when they're in like a space like Hassan, maybe they will hear him saying that and they will begin to understand why that makes disabled people or whoever feel uncomfortable, and then they will want to say it less in their own smaller stream or whatever other spaces they exist in, right? And that's kind of the point of like pointing out why this is a problematic thing that Hassan says here, or why like boosting this Zionist candidate is maybe not the best thing, or whatever the hell the thing is, right? Like that we're saying about a bigger content creator. And this is why I even said, like, even me, like, I'm a smaller content creator, but if I say something that is like harmful or incorrect, I hope that my chat feels comfortable enough with me to say that and bring it up to me as well, even if I'm so much smaller, right?
Smaller content creator,
Yeah.
and he's the one of us who has a verified.
He's the biggest.
So before we move on, I did want to say something specifically with Nick. So the thing that I have noticed a lot is in talking about uh, the state of Israel and Zionists using a lot of stuff with related to sanity, and I wanted to get your take on that kind of stuff, like call it like,
Hmm.
especially with when talking about settlers or talking about the state apparatus of Israel, and I did want to get your take on that kind of stuff.
Oh, interesting. Like, you're saying the way that people like. Can you give me a little bit more?
The kind of ways that are that are used to insult Zionists, settlers, calling them inbred, calling them
Oh, okay.
insane, calling them all these
Crazed,
other kinds of
deranged.
things.
Yeah,
Which
like I've heard a
deranged,
variety
yes.
of
And
rapid.
also something that I have like realized in the past like month or so is actually the ableist connotations that come with calling someone inbred, because when you're calling someone inbred, you're not necessarily like calling to their family lineage. You are using a shorthand to say that they are
Mm.
mentally ill, or they are mentally disabled, or they are mentally disabled in some sort of way, or physically disabled in some sort of way. It is a like sneaky, it's a sneak diss at calling someone like lesser because of a disability.
Yeah. It's always at like a sneak diss at like mental inferiority. Like it's always intellectual
Exactly.
capacity
Like
that
you're
you're
not actually
referencing.
calling someone, like you're not actually talking about their lineage when you're saying that. You are specifically talking about disability.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, even because then again, that even with the royal family, where that actually there was actually that happening, that wasn't actually the problem with them, right? The problem with them was the class power that they had, the influence that they wielded over everybody, and use that to like extract constant value and wealth from everybody else, right? And live
but
extravagantly
yeah, I
off
did
that.
want to get
That
your
was the
take on that
problem
kind of
with
stuff,
them.
Nick. I wanted to hand it to you for that.
Yeah, sure. I think I would start in the same place Larry is starting. Is fundamentally what is at play in Israel and Palestine is it's a product of it's a settler colonial project, right? It is a product of imperialism, specifically Western imperialism. And I think that when we see what happens in Palestine, we get heated, and I get heated, and everyone gets heated. But I think that a grounding sort of thought to have is that like they are what we made them to be too. That's not a way out, but like every time I say fuck Israel, inside that is also a fuck the US, fuck the West, because they're our child. We created that. So that's number one. But number two, to the actual like ableist language. Again, I think it is just saying the R word with more steps. I mean, so here's the thing, right? There's not a lot of Jews out there. There's not a lot of us left. And in this way, like a lot of, health conditions do get passed down genetically. And I have seen people sort of use the, sick, sniveling Jew as a caricature, sort of like a very offensive stereotype. And absolutely, that is just anti-Semitism. Like that is what it is. Um, you know, I don't know a different way that you can look at that. And if we're trying to be very targeted in the way that we display our ideas, if we're advocating for Palestinians, then we should be cognizant of the fact that things that aren't targeted at Israelis or right white settler colonialism is not, you're not doing the Palestinians justice in that way. That all being said, I get real spicy I mean, it's hard not to. A genocide right before our eyes, modern day, you know. So I might have some patience where others don't, especially since, I was brainwashed in the same way that I think a lot of people, a lot of Western Jews specifically have been brainwashed. Um, it's a project for us anti-Zionist Jews to figure out, and how, that's not to say that people can't talk about this, because they absolutely should, but it's my goal to sort of let the other, liberal Zionist Jews know that there is an alternative thought process, and I'll tackle that. But that's not anyone's project for sure. Does that answer your question?
That really does. Yeah, and so in moving on, like I did want to ask like everyone their take on like how do we want to make like how do we want to make these spaces actually like comfortable and safe for disabled people? Like what do we actually want to see in our spaces in order to make them like welcoming and like give people who have a hard time getting community to actually have that community? Because like as I said earlier, like there are a lot of people who are specifically disabled who have a very hard time making actual IRL community because of the natures of their disability. And so online is a space where that can happen. So, like, how do we actually want to facilitate that? How do we actually want to make our spaces look like that? You know?
I had said, and this was one of, one idea, but I think like a call to action would be like, it would be interesting to see where it would go. I think all of us probably have, much heavier moderation in our chats than others. So the changes that we can make is just to, I don't know, spread the word and make the big tent bigger. But it would be like, I think a very easy thing to do would be to stop using schizophrenia and autism as pejoratives. I think that's a very easy thing that we can change very easily.
Yeah. I remember so Lisa, when you said the other day that you like were talking about disability prior to me coming in, I actually went back and watched your VOD. And you were talking about how like the use of blind like very commonly like actually does make it harder for you to find community online. I found that
Yeah,
really
it's not just
interesting.
online, it's in person. It's the fact that like
Or
it's
in
used as a
person.
pejorative to use it's a replacement it's people use it as a replacement word for ignorant or stupid quite often, right? Or you're blind to the issues. It's just literally you could replace it with ignorant and it would be the same word, right? And the truth is that throughout my life as a blind person, well, like I said, I have a very stark contrast to me being fully sighted to me being blind and how I'm treated, and the infantilization and the treating like I'm dumb. And especially here on the, even as a Twitch streamer, I have a lot of, I think this would happen anyway. The fact that I am a woman and people come into my stream and treat me like I'm dumb, bet it would happen anyway. But I bet it's hella increased because I am blind, right? And so it's one of those things that, yeah, I think that that's the thing is that some people, I think like even in my head, I'm sitting here going, okay, these are just words though. Like, of course, I'm trying to think like what would a person be sitting here thinking if they are able-bodied? They'd be like, these are just words. Words don't mean anything. Or they wouldn't think so. But the truth is that words actually do end up um, affecting disabled people's real lives because of how people treat them due to the words that are used. Right. So like I'm trying to give that as an example, the fact that like because people associate blindness with being dumb, ignorant, unable to read, unable to illiterate, like all of those things, it means that in my life I get treated as if I am all of those things. And so it's like that word is directly correlated to that.
Yeah, it
I could also
reinforces
give the
itself
example.
for sure.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
I was going to say it reinforces itself in the same way that able-bodied people benefit from their able-bodiedness because everything was built for them, and therefore they can benefit more in society. It's the same way in the reverse, where the more that we're demonized, the more that we're pushed down and have fewer opportunities and less access, etc.
One of the ways that I try to be inclusive in my community is not guilt people into not being able to physically collaborate. So like, or organize, you know? Like I think all of us are more isolated, and I try to normalize that it's okay that you can't leave, because I feel like in a lot of these leftist communities there's this like go out and do door
Yeah.
knocking and like all
Yeah.
of this like really physical
My gosh,
shit
I
that
was
I'm
Yeah,
like,
touch
bring that up
grass.
later. Were you looking
Some
at my
people will
notes?
even say streaming's not real, like leftist work or stuff like that. And it's like that. I mean, I find that the funniest thing. Like a lot of us are literally connected to communist parties and actual orgs, right? And so, how is what comrades are doing here, like whether we're cross border from each other or not, how is what we're doing here talking theory and like discussing how that might apply to our current conditions? How is that any different than like writing in a fucking newspaper or a fucking pamphlet, 100 years ago? It's not that much
Yeah.
different, right?
And
Especially
like people
again,
do
many of us
organize
are
on
literally
Zoom,
connected to
like
these parties. Not one of our
Yeah, like
parties that
people
exist now were
people say I
necessarily
hear in
the
I hear
vanguard,
on
right?
in
Because
I
only
hear
the
in leftist
masses can
spaces.
determine that from our movement. So we kind of act like all of us want to sweep anybody into an actual progressive party that is against capitalism and imperialism. And we will work like FRSO will work with PSL or WWP or like the Black Panthers or whoever else, right? Like we will work together in these coalitions, and this is just essentially like an expression of that. Like I don't know about you all, but like my party knows that like I'm involved with like these efforts online and what I'm trying to teach people online, and like they love that, right? Like just the fact that you're trying to get people involved, because like the real change comes from like all of us talking to each other. And I think like one way we can help to make these spaces more inclusive is like you say, making our spaces welcoming for people, as many people as we can, us being conscious of these things, and then those of us who can handle being in perhaps spaces that aren't tolerable for a lot of our comrades. Like I know RaptrBlue is, like we can go into these other spaces and talk to people, and even in talking to those people we might not change their mind, but people who are onlookers and people who are on listeners will hear things that might speak to them, and suddenly they find themselves, instead of watching one of our friends on the left who's a little bit reactionary or yells at their chat and uses language that makes them uncomfortable, maybe they'll find like Raptor stream or Laney stream or Larry stream, and then so they'll find a more close-knit community that actually advocates for them in more than just like words sometimes, you know what I mean? And they see that. And so I think like, yeah, those of us who can be in those spaces that are less welcoming, that we do have an important job to do, and that we should be in those spaces, and that we should be trying to talk to who we can and point out the problems with these things, and like advocate for our own spaces and our own communities. And we should form a network of streamers who are conscious of these things, and we should promote each other and rate each other. And by doing that, like all our numbers are uplifted, and people get more interested in seeing our streams that are a little bit higher up in the algorithm, right?
Yeah. I
wanted
want
to
to
check it
echo
before I jumped in
what
there.
you were saying, Lisa, on like as far as like not making people in chat feel bad about it. Like I hear so often, it's usually in larger streams. It's not necessarily in like the largest streams, but because I don't really go in those, but like I hear so often chatting isn't praxis, or like being online isn't praxis or whatever. And there's never a follow-up to that on like, here's a way that can be praxis that
Right.
isn't like going out and like ice watching, which is a great thing, but not a thing that everyone can do. Like it's treated as if the going outside is a thing that's just by default accessible to everyone. And there's no explanation on like how you can actually be a part of things if you are homebound or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
it's never given as an explanation. It's very frustrating, actually.
Well,
Yeah,
even
like,
towards
many
that palace,
orgs have
even that fight
online,
with the
like,
Palestinian.
things like, you know, you can still like from home participate in orgs. Like you can very much do work for them.
Right.
They need posters to be made. They need communications to be written. Like there's work that needs to be done from home as well. Like you can do stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
of
even
adding-
with that fight against the Palestinian, I saw like the response was, you know, I actually go out and advocate for people, or I actually go out and go to the protest while you just post online, like, you know. And it's like, well, if you, I will say that if you advocate for a really reactionary politician, or or somebody who's harmful for a people, then, you know, you're not actually doing something better than somebody who's only posting online, right?
I saw Raptor, you were going to say something?
Yeah. So what I was also going to say is also a couple of things on like making communities inclusive, as well as what we can do together and making it so that people, even if you are online, what you can do. People are talking about joining orgs. It doesn't have to be that. Sharing knowledge is a big thing. Helping, like, people who want to be educated want the knowledge, and it can be very dry to do a lot of like reading. It can be very dry to do a lot of praxis or theory studying, because let's be honest, them books dry as hell. Okay.
So, I mean, half of America reads below a 6th grade level, which is also something you shouldn't really be ableist about. Like illiteracy
True.
is a very real problem, and like
Oh, yeah.
many people can't read at a college level. Like, so you
Yeah.
do need to share that knowledge with them if you can.
and make it fun. That's the big thing. Make it enjoyable and fun and engaging. And that can be your own form of spreading this knowledge. Like, I lucked out because one of my friends on here, not on Twitch, but like who was in my chat, loves to go deep dive into things. And they asked me earlier before this stream, like, hey, do you
Mango
mind?
Jones.
Yeah, Mango Jones. Like, hey, do you mind if I like send you these resources? And I'm going, yeah, I want to share with everybody else, because this is a very personal topic, not just for me, but for everybody involved. Like, it is just one of those things. It doesn't have to be anything as large as joining an org. It can literally just be, hey, I got resources on that. Do you want it?
Yeah.
And then sharing those resources.
Yeah.
Speaking of reading, I will say that one of the reasons I even got into watching Twitch streams was because there's so many streamers on here who are leftists who read out articles, and read out subtitles when they're watching videos. Please keep doing that. If you're watching a video, if you have sight and you're able to, like, say someone is on the screen, they're speaking a different language and there's only subtitles, that can be very, very frustrating for me, the fact that I've lost that content. So please, like, dub over that if you have the opportunity, just as like a little note from a blind girly. It's one of those things that's one of the reasons I got into like watching Twitch streams.
Do you mind if I jump off that real quick?
I literally
Yeah.
remember, like, a few months ago,
Hold on,
I was
buddy.
in a stream and it was something that was in, I think, Mandarin or something like that, and I asked the streamer, "Can you read the subtitles?" And they said, "No." And I was like, "Okay, well, my phone's in my pocket, so I'm not going to know
Right.
what's going on." So there are other
It's better
people
content
who
anyway.
are just not going to understand what's going on here because they can't. I don't know why you wouldn't just do that. Like, I don't know why that seems like a ridiculous thing to ask.
And kind of on the same note as you were saying, Lisa, is that it is one, you don't have to do everything overnight. Your stream doesn't have to be the most accessible thing overnight, but you should be taking steps in order to make it more accessible. to make it more engaging in that way. Having because I have dyslexia, having dyslexia friendly content as like subtitles, for example. If you figure out how to do that, if you got the strength, if you got the mental spoons to do that, it's a very welcoming thing. In addition to holding everyone to like a general rule or like standards or rule, again, what standard of conduct or whatever it is. Like, hey, these are the rules of my stream. We do enforce them. For example, I do open up for example, my stream. I open up like trying to understand so that I can better address what I might be misunderstanding going on. So I go like, hey, can you like explain to me what's going on? What appears to be the problem here? And then sometimes I challenge those people directly if they have really bad takes. Not to a box, but like, okay, why don't you come talk to me about it then? They never do. They never do. But I do try to keep that kind of open door, policy when it comes to these things. Cause I admit that I sometimes don't know what like is the issue. And I fully admit to this. So I try to understand what is going on. And I try to make my point of understanding like, hey, there's something I'm clearly not like seeing here. I need help understanding. This comes with the IUDHD.
This is actually something that I've been trying to learn in not only my own stream, but also streams that I moderate in. That like a approach that I need to be better about is like not immediately assuming bad intent. I mean, there are obvious reasons to like immediately ban a chatter if they're like being creepy to the streamer that I'm moderating for, but like to not immediately assume bad intent when there's a way to not do that, because there are some people who are genuinely want to understand something better, who don't have the best words for things. I know for myself, I often search for the best word that I can use for things and can't find it because either I'm off Adderall right now, or just I don't understand social situations very well. And so like I think that like we've even like had in safe space discussions that like in order to like make our spaces better, a thing is to just like try our best to assume, at least neutral intent for things and inquire a little bit further and stuff. Like I've had chatters who are now like very regular in my stream who the very first few things that they said were a little strange. And it just turns out that they're just like, they were trying to make a connection and they didn't know how to. And because I didn't immediately jump on them, now they're more regular
Yeah.
there.
Oh man, I get that so much with chatters coming in and being like, "Oh wow, this thing is insane," and I'm like, "Well, here's why it's not insane. Here's how capitalism works. Let me tell you a little thing about the imperialism and the military-industrial complex, and that usually explains most of it."
I think having
I did actually
having the
want
plain
to
text.
forward to Lainey and Nick, because I know that you two haven't talked on this specific thing.
Please.
As much
I wanted
as the
to-
rest of us.
I wanted to speak on specifically making reading more accessible. Is something that I feel very strongly about. When I was growing up, I couldn't. I still have a very slow. I can't read very well, and it always made me very self-conscious to read in front of people, to the point where school kind of like poisoned my approach to reading, because it was associated with like shame and embarrassment. And for way too long, I went without the readings. And I love this discussion because it touches on like the three things that I think are kind of essential is being informed, which we all are because we are, plugged in, doing some form of action, which doesn't have to be, and I love that we had this conversation as well of like what action looks like, but also having historical materialism, like doing the actual readings. And I went way too long without doing the readings. So I've been thinking really hard about how to make reading more accessible for chatters specifically, because I think, what is the sort of, the responsibility of a streamer is to communicate these ideas. And if you have done the readings as well, to like, and not everyone can read. So it is on you to communicate those ideas, effectively and in a way that's like interesting. I think that like the barrier for people is books are expensive. You also might not be able to read. Also, it's hard to find resources sometimes, audiobooks, PDFs. And this is something that my mod, Levantine, and I have been working on for the past like a month or so, is we'd like to start making a database of audiobooks voiced by your favorite streamers, because maybe that way it's more approachable since you know our voices and you already listened to us already. And it's something we're going to try out. I don't know like the level of success that's going to come from it, but it's something I'm really interested in, and I would love to figure out a way so that everyone can do the readings without reading.
Yes. Excellent. On that note, I think a couple things. You should add a caption bot. I can send that to you in a DM. It's really easy. It's just a little
I don't know who you're speaking
OBS.
to, but I assume you're speaking to me because I don't have one.
I was speaking to JFK, but I can send it to us all. I can send you to everyone.
I used to have one. Please.
Yeah, I don't
yeah, it's a really good one.
I look like I know what I'm doing
I
on
like
stream,
that.
but I don't.
I don't know if I have I tried to set up captions with like an extension at one point, but I don't know if it works. So
Yeah, this one's super easy, and then it's just integrated as a regular
Yes.
CC button on the stream. It's great. And then also adding like a definition bot for if you're doing reading. So like they could just type like what does this mean during the reading, so they don't have to interrupt you and then derail or whatever, and then just carry on.
G-string bot kind of works for that.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. You can like ask G-string questions. That's one that I use. I think Streamlabs has functionality for that, I think.
Sometimes Streambot will give you some
Really
politically
cool one.
contentious
If anyone
answers that you might
hasn't
need
been
to
to
address,
Lainie's
but
chat
yeah.
in the past like 4 streams, or no, more like 10 streams. But anyway, chatters who speak a different language will just come in, speak a different language, and it will just translate them into English.
Yeah, that's
And
G-string.
It has
yeah.
been really cool to just
It is neat.
converse with people.
Yeah,
I've got like Russian chatters
not
and
have to-
French chatters, and I think Chinese one. Like it's great.
Yeah.
There was a Russian one I remember who's actually been in a few times. They're actually very adorable.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's great. Also, just to circle back, way back to the Hassan conversation, oh my God, he has been called out so many times by even his own mods for saying like schizo and psycho, and he just like still does it like pretty often, I think. Like I haven't watched him that much, TBH, but maybe he stopped. I think not.
He has not.
And
No.
it does have like a trickle down effect, let's say, the trickle down ableist language effect.
Well, he's an influential streamer,
Wow.
the most influential streamer on the left.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And so like that is something that like it's hard to combat, and like I like it's easy for them to just be like, oh wow, you guys are like the max left, you're too woke of the day. But I do hope that we can like sort of like seed some change, a ripple effect of sorts.
I certainly hope so.
Yeah, I mean,
certainly
even
hope to
like
see,
you say though, even not with
more
him, even
spaces
like
that my disabled friends can feel comfortable in. I don't want it to be my 10-person stream.
yeah, no, and that's why I think like, well, I think forming these coalitions is like it's not to pour pressure on any stream to change, but we can make a space collectively and keep finding more people that can help us build a space like that. I mean, for me, look, I go way back with when it comes to Hassan. Like, I was like doing Facebook politics, like back, like I'm that much of a boomer that I was doing like Facebook fucking politics. Like, all my posting and internet activity was on Facebook groups and like pages and shit. And like it was during that time I had a best friend who was like one of his mods, and trying to get him less sexist. She was a family friend, like a very close family friend of his, and trying to get him less sexist, she ended up like disowning him and just like never talking to him again. Long time multi-generational family friend, right? So yeah, I'm not worried about moving anyone per se, and if that's a space that gets people to a certain position that they're then ready to move further to the left, fine, whatever. Then that space is doing that. But it does mean that people like us have a job of critiquing and saying what's wrong with those positions and creating spaces that are an alternative to that, you know, not with the purpose again of like attacking or even like changing per se, but making a space where people can come when they're ready to move, you know, in a different space, I guess, or move to a different stage of learning, like, than that. And like the other thing I was gonna say is like in response to
just said, we got to keep in mind that part of the internet's fascist tactic is to reintroduce slurs into people's vocabulary. Inclusivity is important both because it widens our movement, but also because resisting against fascist cultural encroachment is vital. I think that's a really great point that was made there. I'm sorry, Raptor, do you have something to say?
Yeah, once you're done with that, on that one specifically.
I was just gonna say that, like, yeah, and I feel like also like a lot of these slurs have been reintroduced because the mindset behind them never changed. Like as far as like the R slur, we never got away from insulting people on their intelligence or their basically their intelligence. Like that is where the R slur comes from, is like disparaging people with intellectual disabilities. I don't think we ever got away from saying that people who are not as smart as us are just lesser human beings. And that's how that kind of stuff just creeps back in, is that we don't address the actual like the cultural thing behind the thing. Like attacking the word is a very important thing, but also attacking this idea is behind it is far more vital to make sure that these dehumanizing practices don't come back, keep coming back.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, ultimately, the thing for me is we know, like, for us to ultimately like we have to actively struggle against it no matter what. Like, constantly we have to be engaged in basically a militant struggle against like these things in an ideological way. And at the same time, we understand that, I mean, even after we have a socialist revolution, we have to keep struggling, but we have to understand that even the idea of it ever being a permanent thing that isn't rolled back in horrific ways is not possible as long as capitalism exists. Like as long as imperialism exists, it's never a permanent thing. So we all do have to actively be engaged in building spaces that are inclusive and fighting against like trends of like Marxism, for example, that deny intersectionality and things like that, right? And yeah, one way of doing that is to bring it back around is by like doing these readings and stuff that we do. Understanding again, like we were saying, that participating in these online spaces and stuff can be like contributing to revolutionary action, actually. And like doing these readings is so important. Like, many of us have like read in our parties or in our groups or whatever, and that's so important because we've had conversations about all of these things. we have to keep in mind that some of these comrades, especially who are watching on Twitch, they're not organized in groups, either because they don't want to, there isn't one that's good enough out there, or they physically can't, or they're not able to for whatever reason, right? And for them, they're not getting that type of collective learning with reading theory. And that's where we can come in. People like us who have read theory for many years and have read them in group settings. And that's why I have, like, you know, for the years that I have been on here, I actually started as a game streamer, funnily enough. And then I got invited on a stream because, like I said, I was a boomer. I worked on Facebook for many years. I then did stuff on YouTube for defending North Korea. And so I get invited on this one stream, Subversive History, and they wanted me to talk about North Korea. And ever since then, like, my followers exploded overnight. So I was like, well, I guess I better start talking about, you know, politics or whatever. And so that's why I started reading. And I thought, like, there was a lack of, like, reading Marxist material, especially on here. So, you know, I've been reading, like, Blood in My Eye, and like I said, the whole Stalin works. And the way I try and read it is so that chat can ask questions and talk while we're reading whatever, so that, you know, you're having that group discussion about whatever you want to talk about, or like these nuances, because people read Marx, but you got to understand that ACP is able to be effective by preying on people's misinterpretations of Marx, which is something that happens when they read it by themselves. Which is why the worst thing a leftist can do, besides, like, you know, being an ableist thing, the worst thing a leftist can do is say, oh, go read Marx by yourself, or go Google this fucking thing, right? Like, that's the worst thing you can do, because they're gonna get some Western source, they're gonna get a bad translation, any number of things, a bad interpretation of it. Like, you've set them up for disaster. You might as well say, go join the ACP, you know? Like, it's the worst thing you can do.
I think I'm gonna be the lone dissenting voice here. Okay. And I don't mean this in a rude way, but I mean this in a very this is coming off as very white to me. Because when we only focus on class reductionism, we are ignoring the people very much like a lot of people here who are already stuck. A lot of us are in poverty. A lot of us have disabilities. A lot of us are already disenfranchised by the system. We are ignoring all these other systemic issues and focusing solely on class. I talked about it earlier today. The right wing and internet fascist, like their playbook is based solely on one thing, and that is discrimination. It is going to be racism. It's going to eventually evolve into something else, transphobia, then into homophobia again, and then into what is it, Italian phobia or whatever it was, like back in the 60s. It is an ever shrinking circle of people that are in the socioeconomic group that can look down on other people. Predominantly in the North or in the West, it's going to be white people looking down on quite literally everybody. And that's not a shout out to all of you, or a shout out all of you. It's just that this is how a lot of it's going to be written. People like Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, Fred Hampton, Angela Davis. These were all socialist writers who were looking at it through a black intersectional lens. So just saying, hey, go read Marx, instead of, hey, James Baldwin also wrote a book that is very like non-academic that we can engage with, you know, like we should be promoting other voices. Again, not a shot at you guys.
No, but see, what I was saying is people. I was disparaging people who say just go read Marx. Like that's what I was disparaging.
I misheard you. That's my.
That's what I'm saying, right? Like so many leftists will say, just go read Marx yourself. Go read Lenin yourself. You know, that's what I was saying. Whereas what we should be doing is like reading. And I didn't mean to say we should be reading Marx. We should be reading like Fanon. We should be reading Abral Cabral. We should be reading, you know, Glenn Sean Couthard. We should be reading Tayeke Alfred, like all of these other people. But also, like, if you are engaging in reading Marx, or, I mean, I say Stalin as well because Stalin was a colonized man, literally one of the, at the time, the despised minorities of the Russian Empire. So I do think that he gives us a very important understanding of like nations specifically. And that is one thing that I talk about a lot on my stream is like the including of nation and the including of culture in the revolution, because there's such a tendency on the left to say nationalism is an inherently right-wing ideology. It's or something that the bourgeois created. And a lot of First Nations people see Marx as saying that, and we're going, we were nations before colonization even came here. So how can you say that the bourgeoisie are the ones who created the concept of nation? When even we didn't have feudalism here, right? And we had confederations, we had amalgamations of nations coming together. So clearly the concept of nation didn't come from the bourgeoisie. It didn't come from fighting feudalism. It came from people working together, right? And like, again, that's like one of those intersections that we need to talk to people about, because the culture of people resisting and the nations of people resisting and trying to liberate themselves is actually a progressive force, right? It's not an inherently reactionary thing. And that's something that's so easy to read in Marx, and especially if you don't read people like Cabral and like Kim Jong-il and Kim Il-sung and Mao. Like, they're demonized so much for that reason, you know, and they talk so plainly about these things. And we need to be able to read these things and talk plainly about them in modern language, in Twitch language even, you know?
Yeah. Sorry, I just misheard you. That was my bad.
Yeah, no. I appreciate what you were saying, Raptor, too. And I think that this also, like, this kind of, like, also re-emphasizes a thing that I think that you and Larry can both speak on a lot, is that, like, big thing of whiteness is this individualism that does play into ableism, because if you can't be this individual person, this island upon yourself, you're seen as a lesser kind of person. Whereas in indigenous communities and in black communities and in, you know, other minority communities, the community is so much more important. And like, there is like so much more of a getting there together kind of thing that does accommodate people a lot better than white kind of thing. And I don't mean to speak for either of you, by the way.
No, I'll let Raptor respond to that first.
No, Brian's right. It's just that it's a lot of, like I said earlier, when it comes to a lot of leftist spaces who they solely focus on like the class solidarity bit and ignore the other portions of intersectionality because they believe that it is all caused by, you know, caused by capitalism. But the Republican language, the internet fascism is never going to be defended or going like, yeah, billionaires deserve to rule all of you. You all deserve to be slaves. The people who do say that are outliers and just genuinely unhinged people. I've watched someone say it the other day that said that people who are on like disability or that are in poverty saying that they shouldn't have the right to vote or have children. Like that is the depths that some of these people will go to. But the primary language used by Republicans is never going to be, or like conservatives or MAGA or really any right wing sphere is never going to be, yes, you serve the billionaires. It's always going to be these lesser people are taking from you.
And further than that, can I just add that not only that, but we can just look at actual revolutionary history and we can understand that actually, like, so far, maybe it'll change, but so far just capitalism's contradictions itself has never caused a revolution. Like, just capitalism being like so oppressive and exploitative and all of these things, like that's what Marx initially thought, right? That it would just get so unbearable, like, but he didn't factor in like the ideological weight that like the bourgeoisie can again use racism and sexism and their media and stuff to keep capitalism safe, right? And yeah, like we have to realize that again, this is why I say like the nationality of oppressed peoples is so important to not only protect but to also fight against the national nihilism that we have, which is like that, you know, oh, we're not a real nation, or like we, you know, if we liberate ourselves, then we'll just become other bourgeois nations or something like this, you know, like these are all, I think, extremely harmful trends that we have to fight against.
Exactly. And Argonian Bum here said, and racism and the patriarchy predates capitalism and can survive without it, and ableism.
And
Like,
ableism,
yeah.
and a lot of these like ableism is not the only power structure that's going on in the world. There are several power structures that exist.
Oh, sorry, Bry. Argonian Bum, who had rated Bry.
Capitalism, absolutely, but as Argonian Bum said, can exist without it. Because they happened before it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you have to have
actually have effort to make sure that our society, our social society afterwards, doesn't have these things, because they absolutely could include these things, and that would be a bad thing.
I mean, that was
no, it has to be anti those things. Like for collective liberation to occur, it has to be against all of those things that capitalism has exploited, like sexism, like racism, like ableism. Like we do have to be directly against it in order to defeat imperialism itself. Like it is tied together. Like,
yeah, I mean, the longest part of revolution is literally transforming people, because it's getting all of these reactionary ideas out of people's minds. Like the actual easiest part of revolution is like the working class gaining their own power, having the say in society, and having the means to economically distribute things differently. The long part of a revolution, the thing that takes many, many generations, is the fact that you have to have an active, ongoing revolution. Like in a way you can think of like socialist revolution in my mind being the beginning of the actual revolution itself, where you can actually now begin to actively fight against racism, sexism, all of these things in a way that will lead to a more permanent solution. That's what I meant to say, is that socialism, like that revolution is what then allows you to like have a more firm revolution against all of these other things. But you have to actively struggle against all of those things, not only before the socialist revolution, but you have to be setting up like actual institutions that can systematically fight against those things once you've established a socialist society, right? And that's like the most important thing. And that's kind of like one thing I try and tell people, and why I think I am like trying to be more understanding and like tell people and educate people when I see somebody using words in my chat. And that's why I kind of block the words and just say, hey, we're just trying to avoid some of those words. And, you know, because again, I just like Raptor was saying, just like others were saying, people might be using these words and not know how harmful they are. They might be using these words because English is not necessarily their first language, etc., right? And so I always want to try and like assume the best of the chatters that are coming in as well. And again, because like it's an active struggle, we have to get everybody aligned against like imperialism as much as possible, because there's so many insidious forms. Like I know a really insidious one, like, I mean, obviously anti-native racism here. I see people literally say, you know, that like to actually say something about what Nick said earlier, like how Canada and the US is like just is the big brother to Israel. It's like, Well, here, we had a lobster dispute, and what did settlers do is they came and destroyed lobster catches of Mi'kmaq fishermen who were going out in like, 1 or 2 person vessels fishing in the same waters where you have big commercial ships fishing. But because we're fishing at a time they didn't want us to be fishing, they would come and destroy our lobster harvest. They would like crush all of the lobsters, and like literally genocidal thing to do because native people get 15 cents for every fucking dollar that a white person's getting. So by destroying a lobster catch, they can't afford to go to the fucking grocery store. There's no like here in Nova Scotia, like I say, less than 1 million people. There's no native grocery stores on fucking land. There's no gas stations on native communities here, like in other parts of Canada. So it's like a death warrant, right? And they know that. And that's why, like for as progressive as they might seem, like the settlers here can just easily flip on that genocidal switch and you just like wouldn't believe how fast it comes, right? Like, I mean, even right now it's with weed sales, which seems like this arbitrary thing, but we're engaged, like our communities are saying like we should be able to sell our own weed on our own sovereign land, right? And the Canadian government says, no, we offered you could have worked with the government. We offered you jobs in the government where you could work for us in our grown program. And we're like, well, that's uplifting the colonial government of Canada. That has nothing to do with our goddamn communities, right? And so that's like the dispute that we're in here. So there is this intersection, because then what the weed sales are about is like also medicine for people in our communities who can't goddamn afford like government fucking weed, right? So like, yeah, there's like a whole intersection of course the racism alongside with the ableism.
There was something that a chatter said. They didn't say this specifically, but it reminded me of something that I wanted to bring up at some point and completely forgot about. I mentioned I'm off my meds. Anyway, so I feel like also something that really something that also I've been thinking about with regards to like especially with like insults that have to do with sanity, and also like genuinely calling the people who are doing harm to us some sort of like mentally insane or ill of some sort, is that I think that this, at the end of the day, this plays into carceralism. Like if they are like doing this because they have a break with reality, and that break with reality is never going to be fixed or whatever, then jail them forever. Like this is the thought process that I feel like can very easily occur. And if we want to actually be abolitionist of these systems, we need to like make people realize that like people aren't doing this because of some sort of illness. They're doing it because of real material conditions that can change. And that's why a abolitionist point of view is a very reasonable thing at the end of the day, because it is something that we can actually accomplish, people. I'm rambling a little bit again. I'm off of meds.
Stimulant shortage.
That's why I drink lemonade.
I'm getting my Adderall tomorrow.
I got my Vyvanse yesterday, baby.
Hey, what's on that? Did I make a point that was sensical? Hope I did.
I want to say yes. Please let me steelman this a little bit. So I want to make sure that I understood. So what you're saying, Bry, is that when it comes to those who are struggling with a perception of reality that doesn't line up in a way that is, I'm trying to think of the right word for it. they're struggling with a perception of reality that is both harmful to themselves and for those around us, like for around them, in some way. Is that what you're talking about?
I'm saying the assertion that people who are being harmful are doing so because of that. Whereas the
Okay.
reality is that people who have mental illness are far more likely to be the victims of violence than they are to be the perpetrators at the end of the day.
Yes.
And when you
Yes.
are conflating this sort of violence with this mental illness, you are in also kind of like prescribing a solution to that in carceralism.
Yeah, not. I actually have seen some content creators actually like using trauma as a way to explain why one politician or another has been like, turned right wing or something. Like,
Yeah. Became a fascist because her daddy didn't love her, some fucking
yeah,
any
or
number of
abuse them or
things.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really common to just equate like mental illness or disability with just like like being lesser or being demonized. Like quite literally, like that was part of phrenology. It wasn't just racism. It was also measuring your intellectual capacity based on the shape of your nose and kind of like that kind of thing. So
Lainey mentioned
Yeah.
something interesting in our chat as we're prepping for this stream, right? In reference to, a comment that someone had made, is that I've been thinking about this since, that people make those sorts of pejorative assertions because they're afraid of becoming disabled. They're afraid of becoming I don't know. I've been thinking about that since. It feels like it is illuminating in a way that what an able-bodied person's like biggest fear would be to like lose some function or have
Lose their
function
sight.
change. Yeah.
People are more scared
Yeah.
of losing their sight than they are of death itself, if it's statistically speaking. So yeah, no, it's being a constant reminder that this can happen to you is not good for able-bodied people. They get uncomfortable with it. And it's actually really hard to like, I mean, I can't tell you how many friends I lost when I lost my vision because they could not handle being around me. So yeah, I mean, I imagine all of you guys have been through something like that.
Yeah, you know what I lost was confidence in my friendships. I've spoken about this before, but like when I became disabled, it was a thing of now don't trust that people are being nice to me because they think I'm gonna die. Or if they're being nice to me genuinely want to be friends with me and want to be around me and stuff. And yeah. It
Yep.
caused a lot of friendship breakdowns, especially between high school and college.
Understand. Like there was another subject I wanted to bring up earlier, but it's fine. We can move on to this one. It is absolutely a thing that happens. Like both being afraid of losing like your able-bodiedness in some way, and in addition to that, like or gaining some sort of additional need because of how individualized we are. In a lot of, I want to say, indigenous cultures, that was not a concern, because if you gain a disability in some way, if you lost accessibility in some way, the community gathered around you to help build you up. And that is one thing that also happened with a lot of like early civil rights movements. If you lost like a sense in some way because of you were helping out the protest, or you had an accident or anything like that, there were grassroots like legal resources and communal resources that would help build you up, because we are not, like people have said, we are not an island independent of each other. We are all interconnected. that's part of also ethos at my like where I work, which is we are a community regardless if we agree or not. Like these people that I work with, they need community because it is a one of the primary ways to help mental health.
Mhm.
I did want to go back to you on that Raptor because I think that you did have a point that you want to make with the carceralism. I did want to give that back to you on that.
Yeah, no, kind of okay. On that same thing, one way that I try to make sure that I have an accessible space is check in. Like I know Lisa hasn't said a whole lot, so I want to check in. Like, hey, are you good? Do you want to
I'm
add? Do you want to
sleepy.
add anything? Oh, okay.
I've been
Like,
up since
are we good?
6 in the morning. I start my stream really early, so I'm just
Oh,
sleepy, but it's
okay.
fine.
That's one of the things. I've
Thank you,
been
though. Thank
just
you for
keeping an
checking in
eye
on me.
out.
No, you're good.
Stream, by the way.
Shout out to them, please. On my side, at least. And another part of this, it leading into the carcelism, I mispronounced it, whatever. Like this belief that we should lock people up in because they are a harm to society. This is one completely antithetical to any restorative justice at all. Like it just completely antithetical to it. We lock them up and we throw away the key and they never come back. This is all rooted in a lot of historical if we talked about it earlier, like slaves running away because they don't want to be slaves, or wives running away because they don't want to be locked up with their husbands. Like that as an example. But one thing is, how do we police ourselves? Right. And a lot of it comes with that same education. uh i I generally try to educate first before I go, all right, you're out, bye. Like I'm not dealing with you. And it's not everyone has the same patience as I do when it comes to that sort of thing. And it can be the same way when it comes to those who need additional assistance. It could be because there might be a breakdown between what I am perceiving and what they are trying to convey when it comes to uh like what assistance they need. I can bring up an example. I can bring up an example from today with one of my clients. No information. I have to respect HIPAA, but one of my clients very struggles at social interactions. He wants to help a lot, but he struggles with these social interactions. So it's not a policing thing when I gently remind him, like, hey man, I understand you want to help. They're the teacher. They'll come to you if they're the leader of this art group. They'll come to you if you need, or they'll come to you if they need help. So let's just engage with the rest of community. Like let's engage with everybody else here. Say hi, and then we'll do our painting together with everybody. It that is how, in my mind, we do a lot of the gentle corrections when it comes to both friends as well as those who need additional assistance. Hopefully, I made a coherent point there.
You did. Thank you.
Yeah, I think with language particularly, it's hard to like revise and like break habits and form new neural pathways. So like I'm pretty forgiving. Like I'm not gonna like just bound someone outright. Like I do want to give the opportunity for them to learn and like do better.
Yeah, I do actually think that like, and again, you know, each person does have to decide how much like they can tolerate within the sphere of their own stream. But like I know in mine there's essentially two words that I have, the C word and I think another one that I have that is like blocked. But I'm not like, when somebody triggers it, I'm not like counting it, I'm not like keeping note of like how many times it happens. I sometimes don't even really mention it to them. I just like leave the word, their sentence is blocked and their message just doesn't get posted. Like sometimes I read it, sometimes maybe I didn't even read it. But just like as a way to like, I'm not trying to like dogpile them, or like if I can use it as a teaching moment or mention it, then I'll mention it. If not, I know I have a lot of mods, like ComplainieLainie is one of my mods, and we have a command that will like, link them to a list of alternative words. And it's again not a way to try and police the language, but It's because I know that I do have a high tolerance for being able to talk to people. Like somebody can come in and ask me the same question. I can get asked the same question by 500 different people in the same day, and it doesn't bother me to like go over the same concept over and over and over again in that same stream. Even like really hard, like one thing I've dealt with, like a type of discrimination that here we never talk about, is Russophobia, for example. And that's one thing that I'm constantly in my chat trying to combat, is pushback against that in particular. And so
What is it?
Russophobia, you know, like that hatred of Russian people, essentially, or
Oh, okay,
distrust
okay.
of Russian people, or
Yeah, see, I don't even. Okay, got it. Russophobia, I see
cartoonish
what you're saying.
portrayals of their government and all kinds of other things like that. But I mean, that's the important thing is, like I say, like for me, I'm trying to make a space where like I do give kind of, I guess, the best benefit of the doubt to chatters, and trying to assume the best of them, because like growing up in like a First Nations community, you have a lot of people with a lot of different like a lot of different a lot of different opinions. But like generally, except for like outright compradors and like outright traders, like everybody is wanting to uplift the community itself. Everybody is wanting to combat colonialism. Some think that you do it through legal means. Some think you got to do it through the NDP. Some think you got to like form our own independent party and friendship groups and build broad coalitions, you know? And like, yes, so in some of them you deal with reactionary opinions, and it's about trying to like educate and trying to discuss it and trying to move as many people as we can to the left, I guess you'll say, to a more progressive direction in those communities that we can. And I kind of try and bring that to my stream as well, because I know that a lot of people are coming new to Twitch, and I think those of us, that's why I was saying earlier, I think those of us that have the constitution to be able to handle that, it's a positive thing, because we don't want to isolate ourselves. And if we do want to spread like the type of like messages that we have, we do have to be able to reach people that have never heard these things before and maybe aren't familiar with the intersectional, the way like ableism and racism and classism all overlaps each other, and you know they're hearing it for the first time in our spaces. And so those of us who can handle telling the same chatters over and over again the same things, I think that's a beneficial thing for some of us to take on.
And like, if we're Marxists, if we're leftists in general, we have a very easy in to talk to people about, hey, you might become disabled at work one day. Hey, what do your disability coverage benefits look like? Do you have any? Hey, man, that seems like something you should have, because the government's not going to provide it for you. Let me show you how hard it is to get on disability. I know someone who's been denied 15 times. You know, it's a very easy way to be like, you may be able-bodied now. That does not mean you'll always be that way. It doesn't mean that you might not just get injured and be out of the workforce for an amount of time. And that's like something we can build solidarity with. Like, we should all have protections for this.
Sorry, back to me. I forgot. In being in Lisa's chat for the past like 2 weeks, I have decided that I think I need a buffering on my stream as well.
Do I? Okay, can you guys see it if I put it up? Yes, I have a buffering. Oh yeah, I guess I can explain. In case you guys don't know, I use text to speech to be so like right now I can hear my own chat, and they're talking to me right now as I'm. It's actually really a very different dynamic in my chat because of the accessibility needs that I have. And I think that's the thing that I like about what I bring to Twitch is, I mean, I'm not the only blind streamer on here. There's Steve Saylor and Glitched Vision are also two blind streamers that I know about, and I learned a lot from them on how to set this all up. But they're not like leftists, they're gamers, so they're like a different vibe. But still, you know what I mean? Anyway, just in general, Just the exposure. I think that's one of those things that as disabled people, sadly, because we are so homebound, a lot of people don't ever get exposure to blind people in particular, but I imagine other disabilities as well, where they don't actually get to meet them because, from my experience, blind people are kind of hidden away from society. And by doing this, they just have to be like, hey guys, as a disabled person who's putting yourself out there, at the very least, to a lot of people who are able-bodied, who have no exposure to disabled people, they are now getting to meet and see and experience, and then have that as a living example in their lives on what disabled people look like, how they talk, that they're just human beings, that they should be treated like that as such, all of that. So it's always really good to just be out here existing in a public way.
Very much. Also, in that note, in a way to make public organization meetings or even your workplace more accessible, just wear a mask. Please fucking wear a mask.
Yes.
Keep wearing a
It's not hard.
mask for the
Neither
love
give a
of
beard.
God. It really makes a big difference, and it shows someone visibly, very quickly, that you are an ally, that you are probably knowledgeable on disability, or maybe you're disabled yourself. It shows you like, hey, I know. Instant eye lock, nod, salute. Salute in my head, of course. I don't know.
It's Nick's intro thing where he says, "I see someone else with pissed pants, and I know that you're in." But actual practice.
Exactly like that. Yeah, exactly
You
like
can
that.
repeat
And
that
like
for people who weren't familiar with what I'm talking about.
that's like
oh
just
my
one of
gosh.
the many ways. Like there's a wide variety that just everyday life is not accessible. But I know that's a huge one because COVID is an ongoing disabling event. Please keep your masks on, all of you.
There was a recent mutation for
Lainey,
COVID as well.
You're
so.
actually bringing up. Thank you, Lainey. Perfect. I did want to transition a little bit into talking about IRL spaces. I know that there are a lot of people in the disabled community who are homebound, but for those who are disabled and can get out, there's still a lot of barriers to that. And, for our able-bodied chatters to think about, how they can make sure that these IRL spaces are inclusive and do actually allow people who are not necessarily homebound to get in. Wearing masks is one of those things. That is a huge ass thing. Especially for not everything is a march. Some things are like a coffee shop, reading as a group or whatever, and those are things that should be very accessible to people, but sometimes aren't because there's not a culture of thinking about someone is immunocompromised or something like that, and needs to be thought of.
Yeah, if someone, if you know a comrade in your group who has mobility needs, maybe think about providing them with transport in some way. Can you help them get there? That kind of thing. And be more inclusive in that, because don't always assume that they can just always figure it out themselves. I mean, you should not just. Don't get me wrong. You should not just approach someone in a wheelchair and assume they need help. Don't do that. Talk to them and ask what they need. Ask, hey, is there anything that would make this easier and more accessible for you to be here? Like that.
Yeah, I bring that up all the time I bring it up actually quite often in my stream on the fact that going from being a sighted person to being blind, where people feel completely welcome to just grab me in any various scenarios. I remember when I was learning vision, I was doing vision loss resources, and I'd be on the bus and people thought it was okay to grab my arm. Now I'm a young woman. Getting grabbed randomly on a bus is incredibly terrifying, especially when you're blind and you can't see who is doing it. And it just is one of those things that please don't do that. Don't touch disabled people, please. It's just
I mean, just don't touch people in general, but
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Don't touch people in
consent.
general, but like, yeah, it just is wild.
I
Yeah.
have a friend who is wheelchair bound who like brought to my attention the fact that like people like to touch his wheelchair and move him around like he is a piece of furniture
Yep. I've
all
heard
the
that
fucking
too.
time.
Weird.
Jeez.
Yep.
It's
weird.
a boundary issue. That's a big thing. Like I work with a client who does the same thing. So it's one of those things. I go like that's one of the ones. That's where I have to remind them, hey, if they need your help, they'll let you know. Don't touch their
The one
shit.
time, so I used to, I go walk on walks outside my neighborhood, and I'll have my cane in my hand. And one guy drove up to me in a pickup truck. I was like, "Do you want to ride to wherever you're going?" And I was like, "No, I'm not going to get in a random stranger's car. Like, what are you thinking? Because I'm blind, I'm also like just not caring about my safety. What is this? I don't know. People are weird. They're just weird."
Yeah. God.
Yeah, I mean, there's that other way of being of ableism where it's like the pity or whatever the shit else is like. I mean, the same thing
Being,
when it
like,
comes to being
paternalistic.
native as well. This like pity or this like over romanticization of
yeah.
shit. That's
Babying.
fucking culture.
I don't baby any of my clients. I let them know, for example, that like we're all adults here.
Yeah,
if you do something shitty, I'm gonna call you out on it.
Right.
And it's one of those things where it's just an education thing.
Yeah.
Like if for example some of my clients, they struggle with boundaries, it's just one of the things where we work on boundaries together. If they need additional assistance but don't feel like talking about it, I ask them why. It's letting them know what assistance is available to them, because vulnerable people tend to get abused more by systems like that, by disability or by caretakers, by DSPs. Like they're more at risk specifically because of disabilities. But that is where we go, hey, you can talk to me, we can work around, we can set up firm boundaries with each other. Sorry, the story about clients or people being moved around like a piece of furniture got to me.
Yeah. No, it's true though.
So fucked.
Was there any other topics that we had like lined up that we haven't gotten to yet? I'm just curious. It is like I don't know how long is this planning on going for as well?
We didn't have it. We didn't have it.
Yeah, we didn't have like a
set
planned time,
but
did we? I just wanted to
do
see.
think we covered like
It's
a
been
lot
going
of
for almost
what I
3
wanted to
hours.
talk about.
Yeah.
I think it's been like really solid.
Oh gosh, yeah.
I
This has
don't
been
have
really
anything
productive.
else that I had on my list, at least. So
But perhaps the last thing is to ask chatters. Is there anything?
Yeah, I was gonna.
Yeah. Does
I was gonna
does
open the
chat have
floor.
any questions? Either our shared chat or you know, Lisa, if anyone from your chat is
I
stick
will let
up
you know
on
if
it.
my chat says anything. Sorry, I couldn't figure out how to connect
Of
it.
course.
It's all good. It happens.
thank you for staying up, Larry.
Yeah, no,
Appreciate
it's
you.
appreciate
it's
all
only
of you
1 in the
who-
morning here. It's no
staying
big
up.
Also,
deal.
Thank you,
also
Larry, for staying
Lisa.
up. Thank
Yeah. I know it's late for both of you, so thank you so much.
Yeah.
so much, guys.
I got the nap. I'm good.
Yeah, no. That's a good. I was gonna say actually, Virgo. Thank you. Adding on to something way back at the beginning that Raptor said, like car culture was a way to like leave out indigenous and black people from being able to participate in employment is like, and then the other beneficial thing why it's reinforced still today is of course that it keeps this reserve army of labor, again, especially black and native people, pushing down the wages of everybody else trying to get a job, and that's very functional. So that's why they have no interest in improving public transportation, and instead it's hyperloops and let's get more electric cars and all of this other bullshit. Anything to keep car culture going just a little bit longer, keep expanding that reserve army of labor, which, by the way, is the same reason why there's an ever escalating attack against immigrants.
It's just one of those things.
Um,
We got to be anti these things, anti homophobia, anti racist, anti ableist,
Anti-cars.
anti
So-
cars.
yes, exactly. El Samuel says any resources about disabilities as relational events. I'm not sure what that means.
Do you mean? Do they mean like community events? Because I might have a couple resources on those. I know Mango Jones is going to be sending me resources specifically, and wants me to share those with everybody else, so that
Okay,
everyone
good.
has them.
Good. Someone else. Are there any online spaces that focus specifically on ML and severe disability?
What's
I don't
ML?
know.
Marxist-Leninism.
Oh, okay.
You, Laney, you.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
wouldn't say
I
I'd focus
was-
on.
I was gonna say, Laney, Bry.
No, Bry, no you. Yeah,
I'm
Adrian
mostly
Vixen
a
was a great
gamer, y'all.
resource. But like now they're banned and banished to another place, which I can send to you. I believe they still talk about disability regularly over there.
Hasn't
Please
it
support
been
them when you get the link.
over a year? When do they
Yes.
get brought up again?
Oh God,
Like-
they've got to fucking have an appeal coming up. I don't know when it was.
Because Larry's appeal was like a year as well, right?
Yeah, just over a year I was banned.
Oh my god, that's so stupid.
Yeah.
It is.
It's okay. I got banned recently for a racist title.
I was banned for a year for having hammer and sickle
Raptor,
emotes.
what you got banned
hate symbol.
for is one of the funniest things. I swear to God, Raptor got banned for
Second time.
having in his title Yakubian Devil. It was so.
Oh yeah,
funny.
yeah.
The second time I got banned for it.
What the hell?
I mean,
So
Yeah.
silly. The silliest.
a year-long ban for
So silly.
hammer and
See?
sickle for
Isn't
me.
that
I
a
used
good word for
DeepSeek
it?
to get out of it. I wrote DeepSeek, and now somehow I'm a partner. I don't even know what the hell's going on.
They unbanned Destiny again.
Briefly.
So that's
briefly.
neat.
Oh no.
They
briefly?
rebanned. They rebanned.
rebanned
Good.
it.
Thank God.
The
Didn't take
CEO
long.
Oh
said
my
that the
God, yeah,
unbanning was
so
a
fast.
mistake.
Probably. Did I miss any other questions, chat? I think that was all of them.
If not, guys, thank you so much for having this panel with me. I had a great time. I hope I moderated the conversation very well. I know I had a lot of I know I had a lot of technical difficulties coming into this. I appreciate all of you guys so much. Been something that I've been wanting to do for like months, and I just like people in
I
chat
just had-
know that I just had a child, and I'm working. I'm taking care of them, taking care of my wife who just gave birth. So like, it's been really great actually getting this together, and thank you guys again so much for
Thank
for doing
you.
this.
Thank you so much for doing this. It really
actually-
means a lot.
I have quite a few people in my chat asking when are we doing this again. I also have one of
Yeah.
Sad Girl's mods asking if we can invite even more streamers. That Sad Girl might be another one who would like to add to the. She's really, I feel like she's a good advocate for all of this as
if
well,
Sad
so.
Girl wants to join in on a panel, that would be
I
fantastic.
would love to get something else together.
I'll stay up.
I
Of
do
course.
have like people who I also want to talk to.
Yeah.
I don't know yet. Everyone, I will keep in touch.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, I just wanted to add that in there. That this sounds like it's got a lot of positive.
Yeah, no, I mean, all of us sound like we could keep
Awesome.
talking. I would say so.
Forever.
I definitely think
Yeah,
another
we've got
panel
lots to
would
say.
definitely be in order.
Some of us are prolific yappers.
Indeed.
Some of us.
Indeed. Yeah. Oh, I love this. And I would love to do it again. Again, thank you so much, Bri, for organizing. And like thank you for much like all of your advocacy in the space in general. Like I see you like all the work you've done to encourage others to do better and I appreciate you.
And chatters, thank you all for tuning in.
Yeah,
and,
thanks
and
for
being
being
here
here,
to listen
guys,
to
and
us.
listening to us.
You know.
Yap.
All right,
it means
guys.
a ton because this panel really wouldn't mean a whole lot of anything without, you know, without you all here listening.
True.
We'd be screaming into the void.
Yeah. W chat. W panel.
W consent.
All right.
W consent.
Oh,
Now I need to figure out who I am rating. Who are you guys rating?
I guess the better question is, who is still going to stay on and stream? Because I'm
I'm not.
hitting.
That's true.
I'm going to bed.
I'm guessing none of us, maybe.
I think
Laney
I'm gonna
might.
stay on. Yeah.
Okay, well then we're all gonna be
I
raiding
guess
into
I'm-
Laney, I imagine.
Everyone
go.
Ray Laney except for Raptor. All right. I
Perfect.
probably should go cook though. Like it's been almost 12 hours since I ate.
Yeah, food is good.
it is
So,
good.
well, I
All
guess
right.
most of going to be rating Laney. Again, it was a pleasure talking with all of y'all. It's a pleasure, like, understanding each other more. We'll
Yeah,
see each other
likewise.
around.
Yeah, it was
Follow
great getting
every
to
one of
talk
you.
to you all in person over voice.
Indeed.
I appreciate
Good night,
you
Right on.
so
guys.
much.
Night.
Bye.
Good night,
Good night.
everybody.
Talk
And
soon.
also,
Do it
Lisa
again
Laney,
soon.
Thank you so much, by the way, for me being a new chatter in your stream and you deciding to actually like this because like
Yeah. See ya.
Oh.
like I was a very new chatter. I made a risk in asking, and you were very gracious, and you're a fantastic person, and thank you so much. And
Well,
Aw.
this has been great.
yee, thank you guys. I'm always down for it's just a positive experience. So yeah.
It
Okay.
is. It is. All right.
I don't know how to end the call. I just tried to close out my Discord and it didn't
Just-
work.
You just got to hit the red button at the bottom.
Yeah,
When you pull up the
disconnect.
card,
Oh.
there you go.
Yeah. Hang up the button.
There's like a red
phone
end call
upside
like
down.
on your phone.
I don't know what you're.
Jimmy,
I don't know what
books
you're
have
seeing.
stopped recording down
Can you
over
see
the years
all?
from If you
I'm
find a book
not
with
sure
similar,
what you're
similar
looking at.
problems,
Okay.
just
So
take what they
here, I
wrote
will show
down in
you.
the book
Oh,
and
can
make
you
it.
guys?
I can see it now. Okay, so if you
Okay.
hover
They
over
were
our
trying to
face,
make it ours.
Go over the call with the cursor.
There you
Yeah,
go. There's
okay.
and then under Bride, you said there should be a red. There should be a red button.
I see
All
it.
right.
Right
All right.
there.
Perfect.
Bye.
Wow.
There we go.
Bye.
All right, everybody. Enjoy Lanny's stream because that's where I'm sending you. Thank y'all.
I'll be probably sending you guys over there
All right.
too.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
All right, comrades. Thank you all so much for coming tonight. It means a ton. Have fun at Lanny's. You're the best. I'll be back on Monday, everybody. Good night. Love y'all.